And a very special good evening. Welcome to this evening's broadcast of DRTV on the DRL network. The SRA 711 Truck Series comes to us here tonight live from a Talladega Superspeedway. A great field of trucks we have here on hand. I believe 33 trucks are set to take the green flag. We're going to go 76 laps tonight, the big main event, the SRA 711 Super Truck Series, Insomniac Motorsports 199 here at the Talladega Superspeedway. Thank you out there, everybody in YouTube land, for watching us here this evening. My name is Phil Lacasse, joined up here in the booth by my partners Todd Stanton, Joe Allen, and Mr. TV Time, Rich Patton, as always in the DRTV control booth. And Joe, I'll go to you first. I know Todd was frantic in his and getting some stuff ready and set for us. But Joe, an awesome field of trucks we have on hand here. This SRA 711 Super Truck Series that they run Wednesday nights here, of course, out of the SRA banner. These guys do a fantastic job, and this series has provided us a lot of great racing. I know we haven't, seen a lot of it here recently on DRTV, but boy, are we certainly going to see a lot of it here in the next couple of months.
Oh, absolutely, and this is one of the events that I think everybody looks forward to when they come to sim racing is that race at Talladega. And see a lot of heavy hitters in the field tonight, Phil. I mean, David Day's out there. Obviously, the Justice brothers are out there. Alan Lewis making his return to NR 2003. He's out there. Scott Schroyer, the Redline guys are all out there in full force. I see Denny Daniels. Just a star-studded lineup all the way through the field here at Talladega. It's certainly going to put on one hell of a show. And, we know 7-Eleven, one of those series out there, they have a lot of prizes that they give out throughout the race. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're going to be in for one wild night here, Todd Stanton. This list of heavy hitters that run this SRA Super Truck Series, 7 different winners here in 2017, this being race 10. So if that's any indication at all, this field is just even all the way around. And as Joe said, heavy hitters from top to bottom in this series.
Yeah, definitely an even field. It's Talladega. It's drafting. You got to have a partner out there. You got to have a friend out there. And anybody can win this race. It's a high-speed chess match. You just got to be there at the end and put yourself in position. You could be in 25th, and you could come out of that corner and win the race. And it's going to be one of those things there, Phil. That'll get you into that super chase if you can win one of these races.
As we said, 7 races have been won by different drivers this year. As Todd talked about that super chase. And one of the cool things about, this SRA 711 Super Truck Series in general is that super chase, a unique way they crown the champion, much like we've got used to in the NASCAR ranks here over the years. So we'll get that up to date here in a couple of minutes. These guys are about 3 minutes away or so from putting this under the green flag conditions. But let's check in with our buddy, Mr. TV Time, Rich Patton, who's been busy all evening getting ready down there in the booth, Rich. And, we come once again back to Talladega. We've been here so many times, but you see a field like we got here tonight, so many heavy hitters. We're going to be in for one awesome evening.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. There's a lot of big names in this. It looks like a pretty full field tonight as well, and going to be interesting tonight. 76 laps with a guaranteed green-white checkered finish, so we could go more than 76 laps. We're going to have to play this out as it goes around this 2.66-mile D oval. The running tire wear of 2X tonight. Pit window seems to be between 18 and 20 laps. Pit road speed's 55 mile an hour. Weather is 70 and clear. Moderate damage, fixed setup, so should be an interesting show, and we're going to see driver versus driver tonight.
Absolutely right. Just bringing you guys up to speed what's been going on this series. We got 7 drivers who have won races here in 2017. We've seen the likes of Corey Carpenter take down a win we've seen on TV here at Daytona a few months ago. We've seen guys like Brandon Lawson, Matt Watkins, David Day, Taylor Morgans, Derek Justice, and last week's most recent winner, Maverick Morrow. So, just a list of heavy hitters. And, as we've talked about, so many guys who haven't won a race in this series, but it's loaded to the gills, as Joe said. This race can certainly be won from anywhere. It's at Talladega. It's going to be one fantastic night, guys. I can't wait to get this under the green flag conditions in about a minute or so. But what we're going to do now is we're going to throw this thing trackside for this evening's playing of the national anthem. All right, that'll set the stage here tonight. The playing of the national anthem live here. DRTV's live coverage, the Insomniac Motorsports 199 from the Talladega Superspeedway. Race number 10 for the Sim Racing Association's flagship 711 Super Truck Series here. 76 laps to distance. Could we see overtime here tonight? I guess that remains to be seen. But something we talked about here real quick, Joe, it's off air. It gives an opportunity for guys that, maybe excel on mile-and-a-half tracks or don't excel on mile-and-a-half tracks. We come to Talladega with restrictor plates or maybe not restricted as we go out here in the trucks. But it's certainly anybody's race. And somebody, can come out here and steal and punch their ticket into the Super Chase.
Absolutely. This is one of those tracks where it's an even playing field for everybody out there. You get in the draft, get yourself a drafting partner, and go out there and possibly win yourself a race. You might not be the fastest guy on those mile-and-a-halfs or those short tracks or, some of those longer speedways that these guys go and run to most of the time through the year, but it's an even playing field for everybody at these super speedways. So it should be an exciting show and an interesting race for us to follow.
No, absolutely right. Just updating our viewers here on the 711 Super Truck point standings. Jeffrey McClintock comes in tonight as our point leader. 6 points better of two-time series winner this season, Brandon Lawson. He's currently second. Derek Justice third, 18 markers back. Jason Justice currently fourth. He is 44 markers in the rear. And it's Maverick Morrow, fifth in the point standings, 53 points back. So you can just hear the complexity of this field. Jeffrey McClintock, our point leader. Only guy out of 9 starts, has 9 top 10 finishes. And to win a series like this, Todd Stanton, it is all about consistency. And so far here in 2017 for the series, it's Jeffrey McClintock who has certainly showed that muscle.
Yeah, Jeffrey McClintock having a good run, a really good run this season, and putting together some pretty good runs throughout this whole season, I should say, for the 711 Truck Series. Getting ready to throw this thing down trackside for these trucks to fire those engines. We're going to send it trackside.
Fans, the most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines.
And with that, that's going to bring a field of, I believe, 33 trucks strong, 76 laps on the Talladega Superspeedway, the Insomniac Motorsports 199. Todd Stanton, let's dive straight into our starting lineup.
And now your starting lineup for the Insomniac Motorsports 199, starting on the pole. Driving at number 36, that's Taylor Morgans, and his dancing partner outside, that's the 31, that's Derek Justice.
Rolling off in row 2 on the inside from that third starting position, that Redline Motorsports number 22, Gary Piccolo. To his outside, the hard charge of the number 93, that's Rick Johnson.
Rolling off in row 3 tonight will be the driver of the 96 from Texas Super Speedway Hot Shoe. That is Chris Hartafelax. And to his outside, feature winner earlier this season, Mr. Excitement, David Day aboard number 5.
Starting in that 7th starting position, driving the 041, that's Jerry Walters. And outside of him, driving the 088, that's Greg Lavelle.
Rolling off in that 9th starting position, he'll show up on the track this evening with a number 37 on the door. That's Denny Daniels, and to his outside in the 10th spot, the 16, that's Jason Justice.
Matt Ebert's going to roll off tonight from position number 11 in the 02, and to his outside, a new number, special paint scheme aboard tonight for the 56 of Scott Geiswhite.
Starting in that 13th starting position, driving the number 92, that's Spencer Gilmore. And outside him, driving the 55, that's the Sidewinder, that's Scott Schroyer.
Rolling off in the 15th starting position in that number 52 machine, that's Scott Bodenschatz. And to his outside in that number 30, he's our winner at Daytona this year, that's Corey Carpenter.
Alan Lewis makes his return to sim racing tonight aboard the 51. He'll roll off 17th. And to his outside, second in points, 2-time feature winner in the number 40, that's Brandon Lawson.
Starting in the 19th starting position, inside row number 10, that's the 37, that's Doug Lockrow. And outside him, driving the 121, that's Steve Looney.
Rolling off in the 21st position, that's the short track ace, Robert Bauckham, and to his outside, the 34 of Tom Richter.
Kelly Horner, Jeffrey McClintock, Bobby Farrell, Jeff Gruber, Aaron Johnson, Corey Williams, Frank Diven Sr., Martin Karch, Matt Watkins, Maverick Morrow. That's going to make up, and also Steve Looney in there, going to round off 33. That's a 33 truck field, ready to roll strong. The trucks are in the triable. Green flag in hand, and green flag is in the air, Todd.
Green flag is indeed in the air, lap and a half to get up to full song for these trucks around the Talladega Super Speedway. Right now, Taylor Morgans has the distinct advantage, and that is the fastest way around right now is on the bottom side, but Taylor Morgans drifts up to the top in front of the number 31 of Derek Justice.
Yeah, we've seen Taylor Morgans and Derek Justice and all the leagues that we followed here run really well together at these super speedways here. And as I say that, Derek looked like he was going to peak to the bottom, decided to stay with his dancing partner Taylor in that nicely prepared blue Pez truck. We're used to seeing Taylor in a red truck out here, so a little bit of a different scenery up at the front of the field. But as we say that, the 22 of Gary Piccolo with the super speedway, one of those really tough super speedway drivers, Chris Hart, and that 96 guy is pushing him to the front. And just as we say that, Chris Hart throws Gary Piccolo right into the middle like a slinky. He's going back to the rear of the field, guys.
Yeah, brought that almost 3 wide there through the front of the field. Hard to feel acts the 96 trying to move his way forward. Not able to do anything with that bottom lane. It's Taylor Morgan's at 36, Derek Justice at 31, and also Rick Johnson of the 93. They are up there on that top side, but as we say off of the exit of turn 2, Todd, low side starting to form. Not sure they're going to have any kind of steam at all. There's that high lane freight training them down the back straightaway.
Yeah, that highlight definitely freight trading them down the back straightaway. I call that move, Joe, that when Gary Piccolo was shuffled to the middle, the old-fashioned ditch and go for Chris Harda Felix. As Harda Felix ditched the 22 of Gary Piccolo and was not able to make any momentum on the bottom side there. It's one of those things that these guys trying to make that bottom side work, but the top side right now working really well. The guys are able to stay in the momentum the longest, but the 40 of Brandon Lawson, oh, we got Denny Daniels sideways into the number 2 of Matt Ebert.
Yeah, big mess here down the front straightaway. Obviously going to put us under caution flag for the first time tonight. Yeah, I saw Matt Ebert's truck just go flying out there, but definitely a lot of things going on there. Multiple trucks involved, Joe Allen. Tough to see for these guys, as we talked about, such a stacked field here. And hopefully these guys, not sure if this way has anybody got any heavy kind of contact, but hopefully none of these guys tore up, because I think what we're going to see here as far as the strength of field, I think, come to an equalizer like Talladega, we're going to be in for one fantastic show here later on. So I can't wait to see where this is going to go, but unfortunately under the caution flag.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've made it to our first caution flag of the evening, and the nice thing about this series is we run that moderate damage here. So hopefully, I didn't really see anybody hit the wall too hard. Saw a couple guys bounce off of each other, just a little bit of cosmetic damage, nothing aero. I wouldn't think. I didn't see anybody hit anything too hard, Phil. So those guys will come down there. They'll put 4 fresh tires on it, and we'll get this thing back underway. And hopefully, everybody should be okay. So I wouldn't count anybody out of this thing just yet.
Well, we're going to let Mr. TV Time, Rich Patton, get worked out here. Not sure exactly, what happened there. If there was contact between the Matt Ebert and the Denny Daniels machine. You're not quite too sure. Not sure if it was a little bit of checkup from the inside lane, maybe getting bottled up. But we'll let Rich tell the story there on the replay. And Rich, believe you're ready for the first time tonight. So show our viewers out there in YouTube land just what happened.
Yeah, guys, we're going to keep the camera focused on the 37 of Denny Daniels. Looks like Alan Ebert Matt Ebert, sorry about that, in the number 2 is going to give him a little bit of assistance as they get running through the corner. It looks like maybe a bump draft going wrong. That's going to send Daniels down on the inside, bounces it back up off the apron. He's going to come back into the number 2 machine and start mayhem right there coming off the corner. As you can see, everybody's kind of scattering to get out of the way. You can see Ebert's finally coming down, spinning below the yellow line. We also got looks like the 118 of probably Balkum going up through the field on the inside or on the outside. He bounces it off the wall. Everybody else seems to be checking up enough. Looks like maybe Balkum is just getting facing the wrong direction back there. But a tough break for the 18, the 2, and the 37 guys. Back to you.
Yeah, as Joe said, there was some contact there for sure. Not sure if it was going to be, too severe to see these guys get all sorts of tore up and whatnot. And you certainly don't want to see that in a place like Talladega, Todd. I mean, it's an equalizer racetrack. Even a little bit of damage, you should be all right. So these guys involved, the Matt Eberts, Denny Daniels, and whatnot, I think these guys are going to be okay. And I think before no time, we'll see these guys, moving their way back up through the field. This thing's long from over.
Oh, definitely long from over, and you just got to make sure you put your pieces, ducks in a row here, and make your way back up to the front. And it doesn't take a lot of time, even with a little bit of damage. Like you said, it's moderate damage here this evening, so these guys are going to be able to fix a lot of that damage. I didn't see heavy contact on some of these drivers. It's been a tough break for some of those guys, though. They have to go to the rear and work their way back up. And a lot of times, Phil, I'm just saying that when you're trying to make it up through that field, wrecks happen. It seems like a lot of the wrecks happen at Talladega in that middle portion of that field.
Now, I'll ask you this question here too, Todd, because if we remember back all the way back to Daytona, they opened the season for this race, You were a part of that field. You won a qualifying race that, in speed weeks leading up to that. You were a guy that was, in contention to win, all evening long before a late race caution took you out of that race. But, with the strong field we have here at Talladega, the super aggressive drivers, very talented field we got here. When you guys get out there in a pack like that, what is it like out there side by side racing 3 wide with these guys? I mean, is it a hairy situation, or is it calm out there knowing the skill level of these guys around you?
You're as calm as you can be with a lot of these guys. The skill level is really good, but the super speedways sometimes bring out the guys that aren't as strong, and they're able to run just as fast, are able to run up next to you, able to do a couple of different things. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens, because it's just, it's just one of those things. You got to be comfortable around all the guys, and there's a lot of different, mass majority of the guys that are different here in this league here this evening, or any other league for that matter. A lot of the guys just show up to run the super speedways because they feel they have the better chance to win.
It's a great segue to that. This is also, there's a lot of mini series that make up, the whole portion of the SRA 711 Super Truck Series. And it was Greg Irwin's Super Speedway Challenge, the 4 Super Speedway races, guys who score the most points amongst those 4 races. There's prizes for that here later on in the season. We get down to that, and there's so many different bells and whistles and awards that come with this series and whatnot. And Rich Patton, I'll bring you into the conversation on that thought of the awards. I know you got the awards graphic down there, but so many different cool things to do in this series as far as acknowledging their pole sitters, their fastest lap of the race awarded. A lot of cool different things they do here at the SRA 711 Super Truck Series.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. We'll go ahead and throw that up on the screen for you so you can get an idea of what's going on. First thing we've got is the XFM. It's going to be the fastest driver in the grid for qualifying, so not sure. We'll have to look back through our stats and see who that one is, but we've already got that one going out there. We also have the ExtremeHalf.com. That's going to be the leader of lap 40, somewhere around the halfway mark, basically, but they're running 76 laps plus or minus a few, so we'll have to see how that plays out. We've also got the Insomniac and Sherwin Williams, sorry about that, getting tongue-tied. That's going to be the driver of the fastest lap in the race. We've also got the Blue Dreams, which is the driver with the most laps led in the race. And then, of course, the Advanced Carpentry Award. That's going to be the driver with the most spots gained from starting position to finishing position. So this is an interesting series. They've got a lot of awards going out for every event that that they do over there. And I'm just glad that DRTV is a part of this and get this stuff on the air for this great group.
Oh, absolutely right. We're going to see many more of these races throughout 2017. I think we had, up to 10 contracted, and maybe even a couple of more here as we get closer to a championship stretch here later in the season. So many great things are part of the Sim Racing Association. Find the home base for SRA, simracingassociation.com. Anybody not familiar with the Sim Racing Association, well, it's a big community team speak operation. It houses 10 great leagues in here. Well, 10 official, I would say up to about 13 leagues that call the SRA home. The representation on the website, gives you links to all these leagues and all the great stuff they do. It shows the Center 2003 community. So many great leagues we see all over it. Well, it's alive and strong, and, no better place to be here inside the SRA team speak and all the great leagues and camaraderie that goes on. And as we're on that subject, a guy who's very prevalent here, one of our main, go-to men here at SRA, Mr. Eddie Lee, Ed Stancliffe, usually a fixture in this series, of course, being a part of Insomniac Motorsports, and this is the Insomniac 199, and Eddie involved in an accident here a couple of weeks ago, currently in a rehab facility, rehabbing back from wrecking on a motorcycle, which is, certainly, it sucks to hear Eddie is all laid up, but good to know that he's going to be on the mend and back with us here in a couple of weeks. So best wishes out there to Eddie Lee. Ed, get well soon, buddy. We can't wait to see you back in here and get to talk to you. I know you're going to be laid out of the driver's seat here for a while, but I know you'll be back here at Race Controls at Insomniac and right here alongside Jason Justice, running this great series we have here tonight with the 711 Super Truck Series. So from all of us at the DRTV, Ed, get well soon. We can't wait to see you back there. But the good news here, Todd, we got the lights out on the pace fan. We're going to be back to green flag racing here in less than a lap.
Yeah, lights are definitely extinguished. Top that pace fan here this evening. And again, we're looking at Taylor Morgan's, and man, I didn't even know that was Taylor Morgan's there in that 36. Normally running a red Pez truck, tonight a blue Pez truck. That's something I'm going to have to get used to here this evening. It's showing right now. It is currently showing the 56 Scott Guys White in the lead. I'm not sure if he chose to go to the top side. I believe he did stay out and elected to stay out in front of the 36 of Taylor Morgan's. So Morgan's on the bottom side. The 56 of Guys White stayed out, and that Guys White's creation machine, and out there on the top side, he's going to restart on the top. And at number 56, it is a memorial paint scheme on that 56 machine. And maybe Phil may know a little bit more about that. We'll address that special paint scheme on that 56 machine here later on in the going. But again, we're getting ready to go back to green flag racing. It's Scott Guys White, Taylor Morgan's, David Day, Rick Johnson, Jason Justice. That's your top 5. Greg Lavelle, Chris Harda Felix, Corey Carpenter, Brandon Lawson, and Scott Schroyer. That rounds out your top 10. Pace man getting ready to pull off down here and make that hard left-hand turn. And then these guys are going to trek down through that trial, waiting to get that green flag from that head starter, Phil.
No, the van, as you said, making its way to pit road. Scott Geisway electing to restart on the outside. I think that may be the smart move here is, through these early laps, looks like that line may be the dominant line. Taylor Morgan's, in that blue and white Pez truck, as you guys said, it is certainly strange to see Taylor out there in that blue truck, but that thing is certainly beautiful out there. Rick Johnson, David Day going to make up row 2. The van is in, awaiting the green flag. Joe Allen, green flag's in the air.
Green flag in the air. Taylor Morgan's has the whole shot through the trial. The guy, Scott Geiswhite, had no help on the outside. Taylor Morgan's, on the other hand, had that 5 of David Day, the 16 of Jason Justice, and the 96 of Chris Harda Felix all bumper to bumper on him. They got about a 3-truck advantage over that high line right now. See Taylor holding down to the bottom. Looks like David Day doing the same thing. I see Jason Justice down there. Chris Hart looked like he was going to look for the middle, decided against it, went back down to the bottom as they barreled down into turn 3, Todd.
Yeah, barreling down into turn number 3. Jason Justice makes that swift move to the top side in front of the 56. But Scott Guesswhite down into turn number 3. Now Jason Justice has the momentum on the top side with the 56 of Guesswhite. Now all over the rear bumper. Getting the top side, get that momentum back as Jason Justice now leading up next to David Day in that 5 machine, that 5X of Mr. Excitement David Day. Not able to move, but here comes the number 40 of Brandon Lawson down into the middle. We were almost 4 wide, but we are still 3 wide and 4 wide.
Oh, they were 4 wide entering turn number 1 and 2, guys. Scott Geisway rode up the racetrack. Thought he was going to make that 3 wide out alongside Jason Justice. He fell, victim to the hungry spoils of the crowd. You saw Brandon Lawson, Corey Carpenter, Greg Lovell, Steve Looney, also a part of that group. And they are 3 wide racing for the lead show as they head toward turn 3.
Yep, it looks like a big battle coming out of turn 3, guys. Number 5 of David Day trying to make something happen on the top side. Taylor Morgan just seems to be playing the draft card correct. He's been to the top side and made it work. He's on the bottom, leading the charge down the bottom with the 96 of Chris Hart. But that 40 of Brandon Lawson, Todd, all over the back bumper of the 5 of David Day, just trying to push David up into the race lead as they barrel down through turns 1 and 2 here.
Yeah, they got all kinds of momentum on the top side this time. Taylor Morgan's on the bottom side with the help from the number 96 of Chris Harda Felix. Here comes David Day back to the top side. Look at the momentum getting down the back straight away from the number 5 of David Day. Lawson not quite up to the rear bumper. The guys down at the bottom utilizing the draft just a little bit better as the 36 of Taylor Morgan's and Chris Harda Felix. Harda Felix almost through the rear bumper of the 36. It looks like Lawson just lays it back just a tad too much on the number 5 of David Day. That's going to allow, again, the 36 of Taylor Morgan to propel out front.
Yeah, exactly as you said. Taylor Morgan's, Chris Harda Felix, I believe Chris probably has logged more laps at Talladega than anybody out here, and no surprise at all to see him in that second spot. David Day going to fall out of line up to the high side. There was almost contact there between him and the 40 of Brandon Lawson, so maybe David Day, Joe, no worse for wear. He may just be pulling out of that, that traffic and conserving that, that equipment. And anybody that knows David Day, I'm kind of puzzled by that, as he's a guy who likes to stay up near the front and mix all that up. So definitely a different strategy there for our buddy David.
Yeah, as I hear that, I'm hearing we had a wreck in my ear, but it looks like these guys are still racing, so it must have been off the racing service, guys, because I'm not seeing the caution lights on at Talladega yet. But back to the topic at hand, you guys said it right. We know our friend David Day. David's not a guy that likes to hang out in the back and conserve his stuff. He's pretty aggressive, and he stays out front. So I saw him take a pretty big slide, actually, right through the tri oval. So I think he kind of got, bunched out of line a little bit, and that's what sent him back there, because it's unlike David to just sit and ride.
Oh, certainly right. So under caution flag now for the second time tonight. 12 laps of 76 up on the board. I mean, that just absolutely nutty there what was going on off of turn number 2. A couple of guys got together, and I think I heard Todd say in my ear as I'm trying to scroll back to it myself, there were cars flipping there. So Rich may have a loaded replay here down the backstretch, but these guys look like maybe might have been racing back to the caution flag. So race control, may have a lot to look at here, but nonetheless, it's going to be Taylor Morgan's, Chris Hartafilax, Corey Carpenter, Brandon Lawson, Rick Johnson's going to be your current top 5. 6 through 10, we find Spencer Gilmore, Greg Lavelle, Gary Piccolo, Jerry Walters, and Steve Looney currently in the top 10, awaiting the replay for Mr. TV Time, Rich Patton. So while we wait for that, we'll tell you where to find the home base of DRTV. DRLnetwork.com is the home base for us here at DRTV. So many great series races here lined up in 2017. So many great leagues we're going to see here over the next couple of months. And, a full schedule. We'd love to get your league live on DRTV. If you're looking to get us on there, get your league in the big time and do it up as nobody else can. Find us at DRLnetwork.com. Check out our broadcast rates. They are custom fit to fit all your league's needs. No league too big or too small. We'll cover all the action flag to flag with all the bells and whistles, just like we normally would. So DRL Network, the home of DRTV. And Rich Patton, believe you're ready now with the DRTV replay. So let's throw it down to the booth for the second time.
Yeah, this one's going to get a little interesting, and I got to tell you guys up front, Bobby Farrell's going to have one heck of a ride. We're going to watch this one play out as we go. It looks like a little bit of contact between the 21 of Kelly Horner and the 2 of Matt Ebert, but that's not where the fun starts. We're going to see them get a little bit of contact. They're right in the middle of that group. Ebert gets sent back down right into the number 1 of Bobby Farrell. We're going to keep that camera on him because Bobby Farrell is doing some stunts. He's sliding on the door. He is pulling off a turtle, high speed, get a little bit of angles in that, spinning on your roof. That's our turtle. But he did finally get it back on all 4 tires as he comes that thing down from the washing machine. He's on 4 tires. Looks like Matt Ebert's also spun out a little bit after bouncing around a little. But it looks like Bobby Farrell's going to have to get the Wild Ride Award for this caution, guys. Back to you.
Yeah, and anybody knows Bobby Farrell at all, a broadcast night, he's probably going to send one of us a message and talk about that paint scheme. Well, that looks very familiar out there. The old Dale Jr., the Exalta scheme. Of course, Dale Jr. making waves in the NASCAR world yesterday, announcing that 2017 going to be his last behind the wheel. And Bobby Farrell wanting to pay tribute to Dale Earnhardt Jr., who won so many races in a place like a Talladega. Unfortunately for our buddy Bobby Todd, that one truck all tore to pieces.
Yeah, definitely ain't Amelia out there on the track. The number 1 machine is not here this evening as Bobby Farrell still down on pit road for a lengthy pit stop. And it's a tough break for Bobby as Bobby likes to get as much TV time as he can, but that's not the way he wants his TV time. I'll tell you that right now.
No, and another guy who I know really loves his TV time as well. Our buddy up here in the booth, the Jet, Joe Allen, alongside here tonight. And Joe, you're a guy who excels in a place like a Talladega, so I know being up here in the booth tonight, I know there's got to be a piece of you that says, man, I wish I had a part of this action so far. But, looking at these guys out here, seeing the bottom lane able to hold off that last run, we know the top lane is awfully fast, and we've seen guys making moves up through the middle. That make you itch out there, up here in the booth tonight, seeing all this great racing action up here?
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it and lie and say that I don't want to be out there because I think as racers, we all want to be on the racetrack. That's just how it is. And, I'm the 2017 Season 1 champion, Super Speedway Series champion at Insomniac Motorsports, the reigning champion. So, I have a special place in my heart for Super Speedways. I see a lot of guys that I'm familiar with racing, including you and Todd. Y'all have been out there on the track with me, too, for our Super Speedway fiascos that we like to get ourselves into. And, I think everybody has the itch, but at the same time, sitting up here, you get a different perspective. You see, some of the moves that people make, and you're like, wow. You sit and look, and you think about, well, you've made a move like that too, and you see it on TV, and you kind of get a little bit of impressed with looking at some of the things that these guys are able to go out there and do, and everybody has the knack to go out there and do it, but it's still a different perspective, and it's fun to be up here in the booth with the 3 of you guys.
No, absolutely right. We're thrilled to have you up here aboard tonight. I know you're a fan of the Super Speedways. Well, one guy I know currently, certainly not fond of the Super Speedway type of racing. No, he got tore up here at Daytona. A short track ace, and of course, that's last week's winner, here at the SRA 711 Super Truck Series. That is Maverick Morrow took down the winner at Richmond last week, and let's see if we can't catch up with our buddy Maverick. So, Maverick, Phil from DRTV, buddy, got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, we were talking up here about, our love for super speedway racing, where you're a guy that's more comfortable on the short track. So you come to a place like a Talladega, see the talent of this group of guys that are around you here tonight. What do you think you can do aboard that 57 to bring that thing up near the front? Admittedly, you're a guy who not a fan of these super speedway type racing.
Yeah, it's definitely not my style. So, right now, early on in the race, the goal is just kind of chill in the back and try and save this beautiful new truck that Joe painted up for me, and keep it in one piece at least until the end of the race.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous truck too. Joe did a good job on this one, and I wanted to bring you up here. Just knowing that we come to a super speedway, Maverick, you're always in the front of these things, but anything can happen at a place like a Talladega. But the fact that you won a race last week, you've essentially punched your ticket into the Super Chase here in a couple of months. How much pressure does that take off you having that win under your belt last week?
Oh yeah, it definitely takes a lot of pressure off. Had a rough start to the season, was involved in a lot of stuff, and wasn't having the finishes, that the whole team was expecting to have. So takes a lot of pressure off, especially coming to a track like this where luck usually is not on my side. But we're gonna try and play it smart and be there at the end, and that'll allow me to be a little bit more aggressive at the end of the race.
All right. Well, Maverick, I wanted to get you down here in the booth here tonight. Now, you do a lot with this series behind the scenes. You're the guy that, the point guy to get us out here on the airwaves here tonight with this great event. And I want to thank you for having us here again. Can't wait to see where this series is going to take us. So many great races to come from all of us here in 2017. So on behalf of all of us, my friend, good luck to the rest of the night. That is a beautifully prepared new truck you got out there. Keep the fenders clean on that thing. I think you got a shot here tonight, bud.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for everything you guys do, and that's the goal, is to keep the fenders on it for sure. All
right, well, that's our buddy Maverick Morrow, the 57. A new custom paint scheme there. Our buddy Joe Allen doing the paint on that one here tonight. And Joe, I know if you paint it, it's going to go fast, and you get a hot shoe like Maverick behind the wheel of that thing. Not a fan of these big tracks like a Talladega, but if there's a guy who knows how to keep his stuff clean and manage it, I think it's that Maverick Morrow, that 57, certainly can do it.
Absolutely, and we all know Maverick to not be a fan of these super speedways. It takes a lot for him to show up for these things, but when you're running for points like he is, obviously he's in a lot better spot after taking down the win at Richmond last week, so he's feeling a little bit better. But Maverick's always been traditionally a guy that just hates the super speedways. I've been around him for years, and nothing's changed with him as far as how that stuff goes. But guys, different pit strategy. I saw Rich kind of touch on it a little bit earlier. That 78 out front leading this race, coming back to green here, getting ready to at least. Only made one pit stop so far, so it should be interesting to see how long he's going to be able to stay out there before he's going to have to come down pit road.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see what happens for the number 78 of Aaron Johnson. He's going to lead them down to get the green flag here, down through the tribal here. We're just waiting on that flagger to throw the green flag, and we'll get back to green flag racing here at the Talladega Super Speedway. We're still waiting on that flagger. Aaron Johnson pacing just a little bit ahead. His green flag is in the air. These guys are side by side. Nobody really getting a jump. Aaron Johnson on the top side of the speedway. Looks like he has a unique jump here coming down into turn number 1 in that number 78 machine. But you got the 37 of Denny Daniels. Here comes the number 40. He jumps out of line to make it 3 wide for the number 40 of Brandon Lawson. Lawson now ditching the 78 machine. Now he moves into that 4th spot. So Brandon Lawson was right behind him. He made the evasive maneuver to go to that middle groove in that number 40 machine down the back straightaway. Now Denny Daniels has been ditched by the number 30 of Corey Carpenter. Put Carpenter to the lead with the 36 of Taylor Morgan. The 51 of Alan Lewis now up to 3rd.
Yeah, I saw the 37 of Denny Daniels jump to the outside there. Thought maybe he was going to have a dancing partner with somebody, but that just wasn't the case. And as we say that now, Corey Carpenter and the 36 of Taylor Morgan, they're getting ditched by the 51. I believe that's the 088 of Greg Lovell up there, but Brandon Lawson in that 40 machine, guys, another one of those fast, heavy hitters out in this field. He's moved himself up into the 3rd position. He's been flirting with the top 5 and inside the top 10 for most of the event this evening, Phil.
Well, he's certainly been floating with both lanes because he was up in that high lane. He was about 6th or 7th there coming into the restart, and he's been able to move his way to the bottom, now back up to the high side of the racetrack. So Brandon Lawson, the 40, he is on the move. Certainly, not in love with any one of those 2 lines, but he's found his way to position number 3, but all chasing our race leader, Corey Carpenter, Todd. He won here at Daytona a couple of months ago, and he certainly knows stranger to these super speedways. He knows how to find his way to the front, so, no surprise at all to see the 30 at the front.
Yeah, definitely no surprise to see Corey Carpenter in that number 30 machine up towards the front. Here comes David Lawson. He loved the bottom line. Now he's in the middle again. Brandon Lawson now into the middle groove in that number 40 machine. The number 51 of Alan Lewis sits there and works with him in the middle. Here comes the top groove, though. Top groove being led by trying the 041 machine, it looks like, of Jerry Walters now, the 51, now stuck in that sucker hole. And these guys are trying to split. Alan Lewis able to hold into that middle groove. Look at those guys work together down the back straightaway. These guys are 3 wide. Gary Piccolo down on the bottom side. You got the 51 of Alan Lewis, but Lewis working really well with Derek Justice and Jason Justice through the middle of that portion of that corner.
Yeah, I was going to say, we saw the 51 of Alan Lewis get put in the sucker hole going down through there, and looks like we have I believe I heard a yellow flag is back out on the speedway, so we're going to have to scan around and see why that was out. But, you know, we saw Alan Lewis in the sucker hole, and I saw him back all the way to the bumper of the 31 of Derek Justice with his brother behind him, and I thought that he was going to be in a good spot to get himself back up there, but the yellow flag slowed us. I believe it's the 3rd one of the evening, guys. And we're going to scan around here and see if we can figure it out. But, you know, Corey Carpenter doing well to keep himself out front. He's no stranger to these super speedways. Our winner at Daytona early on. Taylor Morgan started on the pole. He's in 2nd position. He's been able to keep himself out front for most of this thing. I believe up to this point in time, he's probably led the most laps in this event as well. 93 of Rick Johnson doing a great job out there keeping himself inside the top 5. And as I say that, we're stacking him up on the backstretch pacing around here as well, guys. So that'll be a little secondary incident that we can review as they were stacking it up, slowing it down onto the backstretch. And just to round out our top 5, the 40 of Brandon Lawson is currently sitting 4th, and Chris Hartofelax in that 96 rounds out our top 5.
Just scanning back, trying to find the cause for this yellow flag. I saw a lot of smoke, you know, off of turn 2 down the back straightaway. And once that smoke cloud all appeared, not sure who it was that expired the engine, but somebody's hamster wheel certainly stopped, and smoke billowing out of one of those machines. It was certainly a red truck. Don't want to speculate who that might have been, not to steal Rich Patton's thunder, but unfortunately a motor expiring out there on the racetrack here, Todd, and certainly too bad too. It looks like it was maybe one of our heavy hitters out there.
Yeah, definitely one of those heavy hitters out there. But Mr. TV Time, Rich Patton, ready, queued up with the replay. What happened, Rich?
Yeah, it's going to be that number 15 on Matt Watkins. It's not pretty. His squirrels or hamsters, whatever you want to call it, running in that power wheel up in the front of this truck just took a break on him. We're going to go ahead and play this in full speed motion. As you can see, all of a sudden, boom, right there, the big puff of smoke. The 15 keeps it up by the wall. Everybody else is able to get around him. He coasts that thing down on the inside. That's why we couldn't find the caution right away, because there was no trucks to, point in the wrong direction or whatever. But tough break for Matt Watkins, an expired engine early on in this event, guys. Back up to you.
All right. Hold on. Back up here a minute. We were talking about the hamster wheel, and somehow we got hamsters and squirrels. Rich, I'm not sure I've ever seen a squirrel and a hamster wheel. You may need to explain yourself a little tad bit further on that one.
Yeah, I don't know. Little fuzzy creatures. I don't have fuzzy creatures on the brain today. So hamsters, squirrels, they all just little rodents,
Well, rodents and furry creatures. I guess he's describing the DRTV crew up here in the booth this evening as we're under caution flag for the 3rd time tonight. 20 laps of 76 up on the board, waiting for an extended green flag run that just doesn't seem like it's, every time it kind of seems to have that look, Joe, something weird goes on, and this time a motor expiring aboard the Matt Watkins machine. Certainly a tough break, because Matt, one of those guys, is, we've seen him win races on these super speedways before, and he was one of those guys you would put on a short list of guys you would expect to be contending for a win here later on tonight. So tough break for the 15.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt probably would have been on my list of dark horses to go out and win this race. He doesn't make a lot of noise early on in the race or even the middle portion of the race. He's usually one of those guys that he's the closer. I'll reference him to Kevin Harvick. He just seems to find his way towards the front of the field towards the end of these things and put himself in contention to win these races, but bides his time while doing so and takes care of his stuff. So definitely a tough break for that 15. Sad to see him have a motor expire there. We were definitely pulling for him up here in the DRTV booth.
No, certainly right. And, Matt can rest easy. A 2-time winner on the series this season. His spot in the Super Chase seems to be safe here. Currently 7th in the standings, 60 points back of our point leader, Jeffrey McClintock. But on the strength of those 2 wins, I think it's safe to say, Todd, his spot in the Super Chase is safe. So that'll make him rest it easier. But I'm sure Matt's sorely disappointed to be out of this race so early here.
Oh, I'm certainly think he's disappointed. It's one of those things that you just don't want to be out of the race, especially when you get some TV time out there. And Matt Watkins just not having the best of luck here tonight. I know we were talking about fuzzy creatures, and I do want to throw this down to the YouTube chat box, as I did say something to Rich here. What do you get when you, what do you get when you cross a squirrel with a hamster? I want to hear these unique names down here in this chat box, and we'll see what happens. What would you call it, Phil?
Squirrel and a hamster crossbreed together? I don't know. I'll defer to Joe. He's the genius up here in the booth, but I think my first inclination, probably a good idea for a rabies shot.
Oh, those of you that saw my post in the chat, I would probably call it a squamster.
Yeah, Squamster works there, Todd. I'm not sure if that was you're looking for, but we're going to leave Todd, Mr. Johnny on the spot, monitoring all of the answers there in the YouTube chat box. We have a little fun here at the Talladega Super Speedway. The Insomniac Motorsports 199, race number 10. If you can believe we're already 10 weeks into the season. The SRA 711 Super Truck Series. These guys at SRA, all the staff do a fantastic job on a series like this. This series is certainly a conglomeration of all the leagues that call the SRA their home. They migrate all to this series on a Wednesday night, see a lot of the heaviest of hitters here. In a place like a Talladega here tonight, weren't sure if we're going to see a lot of invaders coming in. We certainly see some new names here tonight. We see the likes of Denny Daniels, who certainly no stranger to the super speedways. One of the guys on the short list, the return of, Alan Lewis, the 51 out there. He's no stranger to finding victory lane on one of these big tracks. So it just brings the heavy of heavy out there. Aaron Johnson making his first start of the series, the 78. He was a winner on the super speedways at TDR at Daytona, so we know he knows his way around here too. So as we talked about all night here along, Joe, and you come to a place like Talladega, truly an equalizer.
Yeah, and we covered it earlier in the show. There's some guys out here that just hate short tracks. There's some guys out there that hate mile and a halves. There's some guys out there that hate super speedways that are here points racing. But the one thing you can say about a track like Talladega or Daytona is it's an equalizer. Everybody comes out here, the same setup. The only thing you can adjust, and this is the same every week, but some guys are just better at tire management than others. But when you come to a track like this where you're pedal down to the floor and you're turning left and you're relying on other guys in the draft, it's really an equal shot for some of these guys that we don't see running the top 5 or the top 10 every week come up here and be in contention to win one of these things and steal a win from some of these guys that we're used to seeing running up there and get themselves into the super chase at the end of the year and, maybe have a Cinderella story on our hands.
Well, and a Cinderella story could certainly come out of our current race leader. Once again on the restart, Scott Geiswhite, that special paint scheme, special number here tonight as he honors his brother Brian out here on the racetrack here. And that number 56, that thing is certainly very special to the memorial decals. I know I was talking to Scott earlier today and certainly humbled and thrilled to have that thing on the racetrack. But what's unique to this restart, we've seen him stay out the last restart too. Last time around, he took the outside lane there, Todd. This time he chooses to put Taylor Morgans on the outside lane, and maybe some hindsight, backwards thinking. Taylor showed some strength in the inside lane, last restart. So maybe a different strategy here for Scott, restarting the inside lane. I think that's really an interesting play.
Yeah, but I know Scott's looking up in his rearview mirror, looking at the different guys that are behind him. But you look behind Scott, and you see the same players that were on that last restart. Are they going to go with Taylor Morgans? Are they going to jump right to the top side? Chris Harder-Felix was quick to ditch him last time. Is he going to be able to ditch him this time and go to the top side? Chris is one of those competitors at a super speedway. He knows his dancing partners. He knows who he works well with in that number 96 machine. So you'll see him probably go to work with the 36 of Taylor Morgans. You don't know Scott as well, but we're just going to have to wait and see. Maybe he will push Scott here as we're getting ready to go green flag racing. These guys getting ready to put the loud pedal down at the Talladega Super Speedway. Green flag, waiting. It looks like it's going to be green flag as we are inside that restart zone there, that nifty little restart zone there. And on the front straightaway here, I should say in the tri-oval. And it looks like Scott Geiswhite had the lead there momentarily. The 36 of Taylor Morgan's dropped from the high side back down to the bottom to help Scott out this time. So I guess I don't know what they're doing out there, Phil.
Well, it's certainly a wait and see. I think Taylor certainly got up through the gears, certainly faster, and he goes right back to that low side. Scott going to move the 56 up high. Maybe lose a spot to Chris Hart. No, he'll fall back in line, but now that's going to put the stack up for fourth on back. Alan Lewis working the outside. The 56 now once again rolling up the hill here, Joe. We may see 3 wide by the time they come out of turn 4.
Yeah, the 56 moving up in front of Alan Lewis, stopping that run. Alan goes all the way to the wall. Scott throws a huge block, moving across 2 additional lanes through that little short stretch. They get a huge run through the trial. We'll put the 56 up to the door with the 36 of Taylor Morgan's. I believe Taylor's still going to lead that lap, just barely that time by. But we got a huge heated battle up front, guys. The lines look even. I see the 56 of Guys White, the 51 of Alan Lewis, David Day, and the 5 is up there. Our buddy Steve Looney, Derek Justice working the high side. Taylor Morgan's down on the bottom. He's got Chris Hart all over his bumper. The 40 of Brandon Lawson. As we say that, we're 3 wide down the backstretch. Alan Lewis hangs out the 56 on the top side. David Day goes with the 51 down through the middle of 3 and 4, Phil, as they come battling off of turn 4.
Yeah, and what a helpless feeling for Scott up in that outside lane. You know, Alan Lewis, like a straight G he is, puts it down through the middle. Looks like, though, he's starting to lose a little bit of traction on the inside lane as they're all formed up and stacked and packed in a line. Taylor Morgan's there. Chris Hart is there. Brandon Lawson also drifted his way back to the bottom. So just as we say that, Todd, as they head toward turn 1, those guys break out. We may have a race to the lead here as they exit turn 2.
Yeah, may have a race for the lead. Is now the number 40 machine right there behind Taylor Morgan's. Morgan's right now current your race leader from the 96 of Chris Hart. Felix down to the bottom side here in that number 96 machine. But look at that, slam drafting down the back straightaway is Brandon Lawson in that number 40 machine. He's all over the rear bumper of the 36 of Taylor Morgan's, and that's just how close you got to be there running that top side. It's all about how you work with the guy in front of him. But here comes Hart Felix back, charging back down on the bottom side. That number 96 machine.
Oh, he is certainly there on that inside, as you said. You know, he's got Rick Johnson, the 93, and also a great run for Spencer Gilmore, the 92. I believe this is the very first time we've seen Spencer here on DRTV. He's got that, you know, that blue and red truck moving in the right direction. Third truck on the inside lane, but punching that big hole in the air. Our new race leader, Joe, Chris Artefelax, he's going to have his hands full. That outside lane starting to form. Here they come as they exit turn 2.
Big run down the backstretch, turn 2. The 51 of Alan Lewis found himself dancing partners in David Day and Derek Justice. They got a huge momentum run down the backstretch. They battle into turn 3. The 51 of Lewis is going to clear both the bottom line and the middle line. He's going to stay up there with his dancing partners. I see Steve Looney up there. I see the 2. He's rebounded from 2 accidents this evening to get himself up, battling on that top side inside the top 10, Phil.
No, certainly rolling forward. That outside lane, you know, I think as we talked about in the opening laps, and I think amongst ourselves here this evening, I think the fast lane, Todd, is certainly going to be, you know, that top side by that wall going to be the fastest line around the racetrack. And these guys stack 3 wide, you know, 4, 5, 6 rows deep at Talladega, just as we'd assume. But that high lane seems to be the lane to be right now. Just as we say that, here comes that low lane marching back forward. Chris Artefelax punching his way out to the lead.
Chris Felix still working on the bottom side here in that number 96 machine. It's a 51. 51 has now got one whale of a run on the top side. David Day able to clear those 2 bottom rows. Now Derek Justice about able to clear them in that number 31 machine. Looks like the middle groove and the bottom groove not able to make any type of momentum gains. And now the top groove, just like Rich was saying, is on fire right now on the top side of the speedway. It is the longest way around, but they are working in lockstep and unison with one another on the top side of that speedway. It's just amazing to see what these guys are doing now. It looks like the 121 of Steve Looney able to pull ahead of the bottom and the middle groove. Here comes Matt Ebert in the number 2. He's going to put himself into that 5th spot in that number 2 machine. Look at Matt Ebert coming out of nowhere.
Well, that outside lane certainly, you know, proclaiming its dominance right now. Alan Lewis to 51, David Day in the 5. Now a race for the, you know, that 2nd spot. Here comes Derek Justice to the low side. He may look for the race lead, Joe, as they exit turn 4.
Yeah, I saw that 31 lay back as they went down into turn 3 and used that run to his advantage. He's going to be door-to-door with the 51 of Alan Lewis. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. He's certainly going to try as they battle down here. I think he might just edge him out just a little bit. Move the 31 of Derek Justice to the lead this time by. He's going to shoot down to the bottom, ditch the 21 of Steve Looney. No, he's going to look back to the top. Taylor Morgan's battling down on the inside with the 40 of Brandon Lawson. I see the 96 of Chris Artefelax down there. driver, Rick Johnson in the 93. He's up in the 4th position, and the 16 of Jason Justice is up there. We're 3 wide down the back straightaway, guys, about 5 or 6 rows deep as they battle into turn 3.
That outside lane is indeed moving once again with Alan Lewis down the back straightaway. Now we're into turns 3 and off of turn number 4 here. Alan Lewis has all kinds of momentum, has David Day helping him. It's a drag race, and it's a 3-wide drag race down through the trial. Right now, Taylor Morgans and those guys have the advantage here, but that top group, they're on rails.
What I think is impressing me the most right now, you look at that middle lane, you got the likes of Derek Justice, and certainly the accomplishments he has behind the wheel at 31. But the way those guys, 3-wide formation, stacked 3, 4, 5, even 6 rows deep in the middle there. Derek and Steve Looney, that's not an easy thing to do there, being in that sucker hole 3 wide like that. And those guys ain't losing any ground whatsoever as they head down the backstretch.
No, they're definitely keeping their momentum up the best they can. And, Derek and Steve both have been doing a hell of a job timing their runs just right. I've seen that 21 glued to the back bumper of that 31 all night. Jason Justice in the 16, that's Derek's brother, just jumped out in front of him, so the Justice brothers are hooked up now. And we all know that when you get those 2 guys together, especially at a super speedway, that is a dangerous combination to have. And, those guys are really fast when they work together. But, that top line, it's faded a little bit, Todd, as they go down into turn 1 here. But it's looking like it's gearing up one hell of a run with Rick Johnson out in front of that line. Alan Lewis still up there working it with David Day all over his bumper as well.
Yeah, it's different as the 21 gets a little bit out of shape there in the middle portion of that pack. That's Kelly Horner getting out of shape. He's able to have a little bit of breather room from the guys behind him. He's able to gather it back up. Here comes that top groove once again, battling back on the high side, this time with the number 93 of Rick Johnson. Johnson is at the helm here with the number 51 of Alan Lewis behind him. David Day and Matt Ebert. Those guys have not changed here. They have ran this top line very, very consistent down through the trial. But once again, Jason Justice may be able to squeak that lap out. I believe this time maybe not, as he was in the middle of groove. It looks like maybe it'll go to that number 36 machine of Taylor Morgans once again. But the 93 of Rick Johnson now battling back on the high side again through 1 and 2. Johnson trying to pull up alongside of Taylor Morgans. That middle group gives a little bit of leeway. They are side by side down the back straightaway. Look at the rails of the top side again, as Johnson just barely inching ahead ahead of that number. I believe that's the number 36 and the number 16 of Justice down on the back straightaway there and into the corner here. The top groove is really on rails here this evening.
No, it certainly is. But I'm impressed by the strength of the bottom lane here, Joe. I mean, they certainly got some fast drivers down there. We know Taylor's going to rocket ship in that blue and white Pez machine, that first car in the low lane. But, I'm kind of staggered. The way that high lane, I think we had a feeling it was going to be fast. But I'm so impressed the way that low line is hanging in. But even more so impressed at the way that middle lane seems to move its way forward a little bit as these guys kind of get all organized in line.
Yeah, and this, for our viewers watching this at home, this looks easy, but believe me, this is not easy. These guys are all over white knuckle gripped on the wheel, because to keep these lines as even as they are right now, you really got to push the guy in front of you, and you got to get everything that you can get out of it as they go around the lap truck of Bobby Farrell. No issues for the leaders up top. Alan Lewis dives to the inside of the 93 of Rick Johnson now, and, one more thing I want to cover is we're talking about, how hard these guys are out there racing, All of us up here in the booth are used to being out here. We all own our steering wheels. I know me and Phil, I have a 920. He's got a 29. I believe Todd's got a 27. We all have wheels. Rick Johnson out there is on a keyboard, guys, and that can't be easy to be out there and run as well as he does and keep that car as straight as he does on a keyboard. That's very impressive to see him out there doing that.
And to mix it up at the front of the field with the likes of all these heavy hitters he has around him, it just shows the talent that Rick Johnson, he just found a knack with that keyboard, and he's a fast driver anywhere that 93 seems to go. Right up there in the thick of things as the field was down the backstretch toward turn 3. It was Alan Lewis had the lead last time by, but here comes the inside lane there, Todd. Taylor Morgans, Brandon Lawson, Chris Harder-Felix, those three marching forward. They're going to punch that hole in the air. They may clear these guys. The inside lane certainly moving back to the lead.
Yeah, they're definitely moving back to the lead. We got different partners, different playing pieces. The 16 machine of Jason Justice now up on the top side. David Day in the middle with the 51 of Alan Lewis. So it's a different type of groove here. It looks like David's not moving away from that number 51 of Alan Lewis, but we're going to have to wait and see what's going to happen. Look at Kelly Horner. Horner really working on the bottom side in that number 21 machine after he got a wee bit loose. He's up to 4th.
Yeah, up to fourth. What a great run for Kelly Horner. You know, that orange and black and got the Cookie Monster on it, and we know those colors are certainly fast, and they know their way to victory lane here at Talladega. Kelly Horner doing the team proud up there in position number 4, looking toward the front of this field. Nobody got anything there for Taylor Morgan's in that number 36. Brandon Lawson locked right there in line, just as Chris Hartafilax is there at 96. So everybody through that top 5 seems to be all squared away single file, but that top lane starting to form up once again here, Todd, led by Jason Justice at 16. I think it's only going to be a matter of time before the likes of Jason and Corey Carpenter at 30. I think you give it maybe about a lap and a half, 2 laps. I think that outside lane, if they stay all formed up, may find their way back to the lead here in no time.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what these guys are going to do. Slam drafting number 16 of Jason Justice and the 21 of Looney, the 121 of Looney. Looney went way up to the top side. He's trying to get some momentum there. These guys getting ready to make some green flag pit stops. I believe the 37 of Denny Daniels, and I'm not sure who the other one was, but the 30... Yeah, the 56 and the 37. They're a little bit off of sequence from these other guys. That's guys White and the 37 of Denny Daniels down on pit road. Phil, do you have Denny Daniels down on pit road? Let's see what kind of pit stops these guys have.
I do. I got that Valvoline Chevrolet, number 37, moving its way down the pit lane. He's going to pit down all the way toward the far end of pit road. We'll see what the play is going to be for Denny. He was in that lead pack that's currently got 23 drivers all locked in tow with it. Right side tires up in the air on that blue and white Valvoline machine. The right side work is down and away. Will they slide over to 4 tires? They absolutely do. It's going to be a 4-tire pit stop for Denny Daniels. That work is done, waiting on the fuel, and Denny down and away here, Todd.
Yeah, Denny definitely down and away, but I'm going to throw it down to Joe there. Joe has Scott Geiswhite's pit stop.
Yeah, I was just down here looking at the crew of the 56. I only saw the gas man and maybe a little adjustment guys over the wall there. No tires for that 56, guys, as we see the field come roaring by both of those guys. That'll put them a lap down in the rear of the field. So 2 full cans of fuel, no tires for the 56 Scott Geiswhite.
It's one of those strange things. You know, you play, you know, the restarts, you don't come in, you don't fill those things full of fuel. Certainly can be, you know, a different play here at a place like a Talladega. As you said, those guys going to fall off the lead lap. I believe, though, Todd, those guys got to be banking on a completion of around the green flag pit stops. And, you know, with 30-something guys out on the racetrack turning the speeds they are in these trucks, getting on and off pit road in a big pack, certainly not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, certainly not an easy thing to do, but they want to see a full cycle of green flag pit stops just so that way they can maybe get up front. But look at how much time they're probably going to lose here out there on the speedway from these guys. It's going to happen.
Yeah, those guys definitely lost a lot of time. That's the problem with pitting off sequence here is, you know, when you have a big pack of cars like this that have been able to stay together out there for these many laps, even with pit stop cycles, if Scott and Denny Daniels weren't able to catch on to the rear end of this field, and I don't think they were, because as they were exiting their pit stalls, the field was coming by. As I say that, I see 5 more trucks diving off the racing surface. I see Steve Looney down there. Robert Bauckham was diving off. I saw a crush truck. I believe that was Kelly Horner dive down there. So, Todd, we got pit stops going on. Who you got covered down there?
I'm down here watching the 121 of Steve Looney. He's coming down into the 8 of his pit crew. He does not slide through. Good pit stop, good stopping point. Looks like maybe right side tires going on the 121 machine. Yep, right side tires going on the 121 of Steve Looney. And now we're going to go over and do left side tires. So 4 tires is the call for the 121 of Steve Looney. He is down and away.
I got 4 tires on the 78 of Aaron Johnson. Also 4 tires on the 18 of Robert Bauckham on the pit road. Those works all down and away, Joe. Who do you got down there?
I was down here with our teammate, the 33 of Martin Karch. Left side's up for the 33, 2 cans of fuel. He's down and away.
All right, looking on the far end of pit road, we're seeing more trucks coming on and off the banking. Issues there for our teammate, our buddy Kelly Horner with 21, slammed hard on the inside wall. Gotta see, he's gonna probably have some damage there, but more trucks there on pit road, Todd. Who do you got?
I was just watching the 21 of Kelly Horner. He's got heavy damage to the front of his car, so his pit stop is going to be lengthy. Frank Dibbins down on pit road. He's down and away. Looked like 2 tires was the call on the number 9 of Frank Dibbins. He was down and away. It looks like maybe Derek and Taylor Morgans also have 4 tires.
I was down here on the far end of pit road where Alan Lewis and Corey Carpenter all made pit stops. It was 4 tires. Those guys all down and away. It looks like they're going to win the battle with this group off of pit road there, Joe.
Yeah, it looks like the majority of the guys down here this time all took 4 tires, which is a little bit different. They must be seeing a little more wear than at least what I'm used to seeing when I'm out there running Talladega. My strategy usually is to differentiate between 2 tires, between the right sides and the left sides. I never really take 4 tires, especially in a green flag pit stop. So, definitely a different sequence in what we're seeing strategy-wise here with 4 tires, And we got a little bit of a 5-truck breakaway out front right now. Corey Carpenter, the 31 of Derek Justice. Taylor Morgan's in the 36, the 16 of Jason Justice, the 96 of Chris Hart. As I see Jason coming back down, we might have a penalty for the 16. Championship implications for Jason Justice as he's diving back down onto pit road this time, guys.
Now, that's certainly a developing story there. Just recapping, the last half of that pit stops. I saw Brandon Lawson, that white and red Dodge Ram, pull off on pit road. It was a 4-tire pit stop for the 40. His work is down and away, but we talk about it all the time when you come to the restricted plates, Todd. Getting on and off pit road without a penalty. Steve Looney and Derek Justice, black flags for speeding. That is certainly crippling in a place like a Talladega. Those mistakes you can't afford to make. Unfortunately, those guys, they just fell right into that trap.
Yeah, Jason Justice and Steve Looney. Black flag, speeding, coming down on pit road. That's a tough break, and especially for Jason Justice, too. He was up there in points, so it's going to be a long way to come back up through the field. But with these guys coming through, it's just he's got to have drafting help. He has no drafting help now, so he's going to probably lose more time. He's probably going to be one of those guys hoping for yellow. I know he's a series administrator, Phil, but in times like that, are you really praying and hoping for a caution for the race now? Now your race is pretty much ruined.
Well, it certainly is, and you're going to be banking on a caution to try to make your way around. But, one of the interesting things they're doing with these kind of racetracks here, Joe, those timing lines getting on and off pit road, especially the one at the far end where guys certainly get hit a lot with speeding on entry, bring our viewers up to speed of the different things that are done with that, that timing zone here as part of the SRA 711 series.
Yeah, there's a unique feature that's added into all the customized SRA tracks that this series is using, as well as, it's open to all leagues to use, especially those a part of the Sim Racing Association. There's a big red line that goes down, a couple stalls into the entrance of pit road. So the series has, I'll call it a semi-hot pitting rule, because we see some series where they'll measure your pit road speed right at the pit road line, and if you're over a certain mile an hour, you're going to get banged with a black flag, and there is no contesting it. It sucks to suck, and it happens. There's some series that let the game flags be the police of it, and if you can get away with it, you can get away with it. Then there's the 711 Super Truck Series. They have this red line, and they do it all by a timing sequence. So they have measured out a specific amount of time it takes you to get onto pit road. And if you come into pit road, if you go over whatever their designated time that they've selected for what you can gain on pit road by hot pitting, if you go over it by just a fraction of a second, you're going to be black flagged post-race when they go back and review these things. If you stay under it and you give back your time, you're fine. So it's a unique situation. It's a little bit of work, in my opinion at least. I know it seems to work just fine for them. Nobody's really complained about it. There's really no contesting it because it's all done on a timing loop, and it makes it difficult as a driver to be able to figure out how fast and how much time you need to give up if you do decide to try to hot pit, which can actually give guys a huge benefit at tracks like Talladega and Daytona because it helps you get on and off pit road a lot better than others. And that's why we see a lot of the fields when we cover these super speedway races spread out as far as they are, is because some guys are just better at getting onto pit road and maximizing their time that they're down there better than others.
Well, it is certainly, that stringing that sells out with, a great pit stop. Well, we see that all over the Talladega Super Speedway now. Of course, the Insomniac 199 here at Talladega. Race number 10 for the SRA 711 Super Truck Series. And as we look off of turn 2, Todd, 6 trucks are broken away from this field now with that round of green flag pit stops. Corey Carpenter, Derek Justice, Taylor Morgans, Chris Hart, Frank Gibbons and David Day, they are looking to drive away from the field. I think these guys now, with a little less than 30 laps to go, they don't want to see a caution flag. They want to settle this amongst themselves, and they still got one more pit stop they're going to have to make.
Yeah, definitely going to have one pit stop they're definitely going to have to make at least. But you're trying to see these guys. There's two different distinct groups that distinct groups, I should say, that I see out there on the speedway right now. You have Corey Carpenter, Derek Justice, Taylor Morgans, Chris Hart, Felix, Frank Gibbons, and David Day. That is your first group. The second group is being led by that number 40 two-time winner on the season, Brandon Lawson. You got Don Dangler, Rick Johnson, Scott Bodenschatz, Jeffrey McClintock, Alan Lewis, and Greg Lavelle. Those guys, that is actually 7th through 13th. So you got two distinct different groups there. And is that other group catching them? They have been just here and there, but not really that as fast as you would think that they would.
No, not currently yet. And, if they form back in line, maybe they do. But these Super 6 on the front of the field, Joe, they're all veterans of these super speedways as well. These guys may just be inclined to stay in line and maybe settle this thing amongst themselves. I mean, they still got one more pit stop left to make, but a little bit of forward thinking. If these guys stay in line, there's nothing that second pack's going to do to catch them.
Yeah, but it's going to take all 6 of them to stay there. We see the 5 of David Day really backing off these guys, taking draft away from them. I heard a little bit of radio communication that he's actually purposely trying to slow this line down. He needs the assistance from the guys behind him to try to get himself up in contention to possibly win this thing. It's no secret that Corey Carpenter, Derek Justice, Taylor Morgans, Chris Hart, those 4 guys are typically guys that work together on super speedways. So I don't think David Day, and I see Frank Gibbons up there, had a great pit stop, moved himself into the top 5. Really, those 2 guys are kind of outnumbered. It's a 4-on-2 battle right now between the guys running up front. So David trying to do everything he can to bring this line behind him back up to him, and it's working right now. Brandon Lawson took just over a 3-second lead that this front pack had to him and has shrunk it down to almost 2.5 seconds. So that second group is actually catching this front group right now.
Now, I'm not sure if I'm puzzled by that move or it's a genius move because, as you say, those 4 guys at the front, they have a known alliance on these super speedways. They all work well together. So, maybe David Day looking in the mirror there, Todd, seeing the likes of, say, a Brandon Lawson, the Rick Johnson, especially Alan Lewis. He's worked well with those 3 guys. Maybe a little forward thinking that he may need these guys as they approach their final pit stop and to the end of this thing.
Yeah, he's thinking about it. I know as he's weaving back and forth, trying to break the draft. As it looks like the 36. Oh, and it reappears in the track and takes out the second group. Second group has completely destroyed by. It looks like the aliens abducted Taylor Morgans and Taylor Morgans just reappear. Yeah. They threw him right back in the middle of everyone in that second pack. I'm completely in awe what happened to that 36.
Yeah, and that's certainly too bad, and certainly not an intentional act whatsoever. The aliens come calling. They went calling. They wanted some Pez. They had to get Taylor Morgans, and they said, "Ooh, it's probably a different flavor of Pez in that blue truck." And unfortunately, they took them. They spit them back out, and it just happens it was right in the middle of that second pack, as you guys said, and that's going to tear up an awful lot of equipment. Looks like heavy hits there for the likes of Greg Lovell. I saw Jeffrey McClintock, our point leader, also take a shot in that. So just a tough break, an unfortunate set of circumstances for these guys, Todd. We've seen it the year before, and the aliens strike again here, once again at Talladega.
Yeah, definitely the alien strike it once again. That's one of those things I can't believe he was teleported right back into that group, and we're gonna have to see what Mr. TV Time Rich Patton has. I'm sure you might see some Richisms in that, but that was just all-out carnage. You're just driving along, you could just imagine just driving along, and all of a sudden somebody appears out of nowhere right in front of you. When you're driving your regular car, what are you going to do? It's just a split-second thing, and unfortunately, we have to answer to what we call the internet gods, the people that the internet, what's going to go wrong with these games, and, different things. And unfortunately, it's not a foolproof thing, Phil.
No, certainly not a foolproof thing, as you said. I mean, it's a random connection. Maybe Taylor's had a little bit of lag there and certainly disappeared. And instead of talking about it, let's show it off what happened there, Rich. An unfortunate set of circumstances, certainly for Taylor Morgan's, but, especially for this second group that was riding there in line.
Yeah, most definitely. It jacked up the second group pretty good. We're going to play this out through slow motion. We're going to keep the cameras focused on the 088 of Greg Lovell, though. It looks like that's going to give us the best situation since Taylor Morgan's did pop out of the server and then back into the server. Some sort of a glitch happened there, but we'll go ahead and play this through slow motion. And we're keeping our eyes on that black and red truck right there with the white numbers on it. That's the 088 of Greg Lovell. And right there you saw it. I'll back this up just a second. Right there is a 36 on the left side of your screen. He's just coming back into play, so we'll play this slow. He pops out again, and next thing you know, he's right inside Lovell's truck. Lovell's going to get sideways, backs him up against the wall. It's not over yet. We'll go ahead and play this at full speed, slow it down right here, because as you can see, it looks like the 36 of Taylor Morgan's comes back in again. He's just spinning completely out of control, completely glitching. I don't think he's got control of that truck at all at this moment. He might have fell out completely. We'll have to find out if we can get some more information on that later. But tough break for Greg Lovell as that 36 basically entered his cockpit. Back to you guys.
No, it certainly did, and unfortunate situation for them guys as well. Unfortunate situations going on currently off of turn number 2. I see the 30 pointed in the wrong direction, and I see the 9 of Frank Divens down there in the apron. Not sure what happened there, but a little bit of hijinks. Somebody maybe getting a little bit loose leaving pit road, but nonetheless, the 30 of Corey Carpenter and the 9 of Frank Divens, Todd, they were slow on the racetrack and on the apron off of turn 2.
Yeah, definitely slow, and it looks like there was some contact made as these guys were coming off of pit road after the completion of their pit stops, and then there was some more contact made. So I'm completely unsure what happened there. It looks like they might have a little bit of damage, but I'm going to throw it down to Mr. TV Time Rush Patton, who was already up on the helm and has that replay ready for everybody.
Yeah, guys, this time we're going to try to keep the camera focused on Corey Carpenter. That's Frank Divens in the 9 right there behind him. We'll play this through his slow motion. Looks like a little bit of contact's made right there. Divens gets into the back end of Carpenter. That's going to send Carpenter around down onto the apron. It's not over yet. I think they're going to make contact one more time. We'll go ahead and speed this up so we can catch up with them real quick since we are in the caution. Looks like Carpenter finally gets it to a stop, or tries to get it to a stop, and comes back across the nose of Divens. So both of them guys trying to get straightened up, get back out on the track. Tough break. Probably not too much damage since they're running moderate damage. They're going to have some flat-spotted tires now, though. So who knows? You just never know where the excitement's going to happen here at Talladega. Back to you guys.
One thing to keep in the back of your mind here now is that's going to bring all the drivers, back to the lead lap. It's going to be, 27, 28 guys strong now, all going to be in contention with, winding down with laps. Probably one more pit stop to make from here. So the question is, can these guys make it? But you think now, the Frank Divens and even so Corey Carpenter, the number 30, they may have to restart guys deep in the field. How tough is that going to be for these guys, Joe, to maybe drive their way forward through, they've lost all this track position. How precious is that here at a place like a Talladega? And how tough is it to drive back through this field with just the impressive list of guys we got here?
It definitely is going to have its challenges, but it's not necessarily the end of the world. They still have 24 laps. By my calculations and my math, running some numbers, they're going to need at least one more pit stop. They're probably going to be about 3 laps short or so, unless they have a couple cautions, and some guys may try to gamble on just saving enough fuel without going down pit road again. So we could see some mixed strategy here depending on how the cautions fall, if we even get any. But it just depends on who you can get hooked up with and how long it takes you to try to get yourself back out to the front. But I don't think these guys are in too much trouble per se right now. They're going to need to play and time their runs just right and get in the right lines when they're moving and be able to do that. But is it tough with some of the star-studded field drivers that we have out here? Absolutely, but I think that all of these guys still have a legitimate shot at getting themselves back up there. They have just enough time to do it at least.
Another storyline we follow here tonight, we talk about coming to Talladega. It's an equalizer here for guys who, maybe not be the most competitive on those 1.5 miles and the short tracks and a lot of the tracks you see here. So you see these 4 super speedways on the schedule and you think anything can happen. and a name you may not expect find his way to the front and maybe contention for victory lane. You look up in the leaderboard there, Todd. Look at position number 4. You find our buddy Mr. Don Dangler out there with the 99. Currently they're running P4. We know Don's a good driver with a fast truck, but certainly not a name we see near the front of the field often here on DRTV and beyond. So great run for that 99 here. We're going to restart, looks like, well in the top 5.
Yeah, great run for the 99 of Don Dangler, and he did start the race one lap down. He had to come out from the pits. It looked like a few issues for the 99 before he got out onto the speedway, but he did start one lap down in that number 99 machine. So he got the lap back for a lucky dog. He stayed out on the speedway. He had the drive around in that number 99 machine. He drove around, joined the tail in the field, and he's had a couple of yellows to get himself rearranged, restacked into the field. See some of these guys flashing by Williams in the 23 machine, and I believe the 121 of Steve Looney. It is indeed the 121 of Steve Looney. Those guys getting back onto the lead lap here as they flash by the leaders. It's going to be your current race leader. Before we go back to green flag racing, the number 30 of Corey Carpenter, David Day running in that second spot. Chris Harder, Felix, Don Dangler, Robert Balcom made his way up to that 5th spot, and you know Robert hates these super speedways with a passion in that 118 machine. The 40 of Brandon Lawson, in the 7th position, the 22 of Gary Piccolo. We haven't mentioned much about Mr. Gary Piccolo, but he's running in that 7th spot. 8th is the number 037 of Denny Danos. Scott Bodenshots is up to 9th. Jeffrey McClintock is rounding out your top 10 right now. And the number 17 machine, as Joe was saying in my ear. Joe, he's been quiet. You know him better than most of us up here in the booth. What do you think's going on with Jeffrey?
Yeah, I don't know if Jeffrey has a win yet this year. I don't recall. I don't think he does, but he's doing the points racing tonight. He's our points leader, of the guys that don't have a win collected this year, and being relatively quiet, keeping the nose clean on his truck, but, kind of sneaking up there towards the end of this thing. Broke into the top 10. Jeffrey's a close friend of mine, so I'm happy to see him having a good run. It's neat to see him up there leading the points. I know we're still early on in the year, but he's just kind of minding his own business, biding his own time. Still a little bit unlike him. I'm used to seeing him up front leading races and winning races, so I'm sure he'll get his breakthrough. And, as I say that, we see the van is taking the big sharp left-hand turn down pit road. Corey Carpenter is the controlled truck coming down towards the restart zone here in the middle of the tri-oval. Start-finish line situated different here at Talladega. It's about another 500 feet down the road from here. They're through the restart zone. Green flag is back out in the air. David Day all by himself. No help out the rear. I don't know where Don Dangler was, but he wasn't on the bumper of the 5 truck. Chris Hart all over the rear bumper of that 30 of Corey Carpenter. David all by himself up on the top, trying to make something work. Just isn't going to be able to do anything. He might try to fill the gap here behind Chris Hart and that 118 of Robert Bauckham as they come off of turn 2 here, Todd.
Yeah, coming off of turn number 2, he does fill the gap here. And then number 5 machine, he's in the 3rd. The 118 of Robert Balcom is running that 4th position. So these guys running down the back straightaway. Believe another yellow flag is out. I'm not sure what happened there. You guys can maybe have to lighten me.
Well, there was something going on in the back of the field, and I'm not sure if it was a residual for what going on in that restart. We talked about Don Dangler restarting 4th. His truck did not come up to speed like others did there, Joe, and Brandon Lawson gave him quite the shot to get him going. I think that was why we saw David Day break away, but I'm not sure if that stacked up the field anymore and just guys maybe running out of real estate. But nonetheless there, Joe, a multiple truck incident there off of turn 2.
Yeah, I think, I think that definitely played a role as far as stacking these guys up on the backstretch. This guy's trying to get up through the gearbox, and I'm not sure that Don Dangler might have not missed a gear, or maybe he blew a gear in that transmission getting up to speed, and that's what caused it, because he got a huge shot from Brandon Lawson and just didn't go anywhere. But as I was looking through the rear of the field, I saw the 78 of Aaron Johnson. Looked like he got on the apron down there coming off of turn 2, and that got him all out of shape and just sent him right back up into the middle of traffic. I thought I saw contact with Tom Richter. 9 of Frank Divins, unfortunately, looks like he was involved in it. His teammate Greg Lovell in the 088 Extreme Motorsports truck was involved in it. So a couple of guys look like they're going to be tore up as a result of that accident that happened here in the rear of the field.
Thought we'll let Rich get squared away with the replay and let him get sorted out and he can tell us exactly what happened, show us what happened on the replay. These guys in my ear chirping, Rich asking, do I need to show the replay? And I think Joe may have stole all this thunder, but we'll let him throw pictures to word here in just a few minutes. But, looking at the lap counter up here on the board there, Joe, 56 of 76 up on the board. now, of course, we'll touch on that thought here in a minute. I believe Rich is ready with the replay. So down to you, Rich.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. Yeah, I was ready down here. It's okay. We're going to keep the cameras focused on the 78 of Aaron Johnson. Looks like Joe pretty much called it spot on. Looks like Aaron Johnson's going to get down into the apron a little bit. It's going to upset his truck. That's going to send him back up. It gets a little squirrely. You can see the rear end gets crazy. All of a sudden, he goes back up in towards the field. Next thing you know, he's bouncing off other trucks. Everybody gets going the wrong direction. You have the 088 of Level also bouncing off the wall. 78's going backwards. It looks like the 088 also got into the 078 as well. So that's going to send all three of those trucks into the spin cycle. Tough break for all those guys. Everybody else behind him was able to check up, slow down, and wait for the mayhem to stop so they can get around him. So tough break for these guys. Definitely got some flat spotted tires out there now, guys. Back to you.
Yeah, and those guys will come to pit road, knowing at least they have one more pit stop left here to make. But, Joe, looking at the front of the field now, it's early to speculate as we're around the van, but I'm seeing Corey, I'm seeing David Day especially, Brandon Lawson, those guys all peeking and rolling onto the apron. Obviously saving fuel. Is there any possible way they can save enough to make it from where they pitted and where they were? Because if my calculation's right, that's about 25 laps and a tank of gas. And, not overtime thinking, but can these guys possibly save enough to make it?
It's going to be very, very close. They're getting about 20 to 21 laps on average for a full fuel run here when this thing goes green. They're going to need a couple cautions. I think the guys that pitted under this latest caution just now are going to be a little safer than some of the guys out front. I think Corey and David and Brandon and Maverick and, Jeffrey's made his way up into the 5th spot in that 17. Those guys are going to probably need at least another caution to be safe to make it to the end of regulation. Now, if this thing needs to utilize any of its green-white checkers, I think the guys that pitted this time around, if they stay out when these cautions occur, if they happen, they're going to be safe into overtime, while the guys who are out front leading this thing are probably going to have to come down. So I would imagine our top 5 is probably not hoping that this thing goes into overtime. They want this thing to end at regulation because I don't think they'll be able to stretch it any further than that.
No, and that's the thought I was going to give to Todd as well, knowing that overtime till this series can loom here. These guys making that gamble, maybe trying to make it toward the end of regulation, Todd, do you think that's a smart play by these guys at this point? Because I'm thinking I want to err on the side of caution. I mean, even with the way that, the track is here tonight, it's certainly fast. It is 3 grooves. Guys seem to be able to make passes with help. And if you come to pit road now, you may restart deep in the field and have a long road to hoe as far as regaining that track position back and moving forward. But, putting there, you may be safe on fuel if this thing goes to overtime. What do you think of the play of these guys up front trying to save fuel?
Yeah, a little bit of technical difficulties here on my end as I somehow muted my microphone. I didn't turn the switch on the right way, so that's my fault. But field strategy-wise, these guys, like you said, it's gonna be real close with some of these guys, and we're gonna have to wait and see. As it looks like Maverick Morrow on the 57 did go down pit road. It's gonna be close. I mean, clutching it, like Joe was saying, one more yellow probably to be safe. I think they could probably make it. Those that can clutch and utilize their fuel the most, I believe they can make it on this last pit stop here and not have to go down pit road. But they do need to bank one more yellow flag.
Well, they certainly do, and I'm not sure if the YouTube chat box is, going to be cheering out there. Maybe Todd needs to keep that microphone muted, but I know Joe and myself certainly happy he got that thing all figured out and he can get, back on the call here with us. At a place like a Talladega, as announcers, it certainly, puts us to the test of these guys getting that 3 wide formation. It certainly gives us a lot to talk about when they do that. Is we're awaiting the restart. The lights are still on atop that DRTV pace van. Just watching these guys, rolling on the apron here, conserving all the fuel you can. I don't know, Joe. If you're Corey Carpenter, if you're David Day, I know you drive a crush truck, so we'll put you in David Day's truck of that number 5. Do you think it's a smart move to save this fuel right now, or would you play the conservative side and come to pit road and make sure you have enough fuel to maybe see overtime?
I'm not entirely sure at this point. I'm seeing a lot of mixed strategy. I think Corey and David and Jeffrey McClintock have they've made their bed. They've decided that they're going to try and, hope that they can save enough to make it to the end, and maybe accepted the fact that if they get overtime, they're, they're going to have to come down pit road if overtime happens, but they're shooting on, making this thing all the way to the end and hoping that it stops at regulation, while other guys like Maverick Morrow, I saw Brandon Lawson just duck down pit road. Martin Karch went down there. So a bunch of other guys are electing to take the safe route and definitely be good to the end here, it looks like. With where they're pitting on 20 laps or so of fuel, we're going to be down to 17 or so to go to end this thing. So those guys will probably be good to the end, maybe even more into overtime if they need to. So those guys may be banking on this thing, going to the end as well. But I think what we're going to see more so than not is I don't know if we're going to really see a lot of three-wide racing early on. I think Corey Carpenter, David Day probably get themselves down to the bottom and try to stay there, take the shortest route around this big super speedway here to save as much fuel as they possibly can going down to the end, Todd.
Well, I think one guy we may have scared away, he might be listening to the broadcast, but it may be Brandon Lawson at number 40. He came to pit road, and I think that's a smart play for Brandon there, Todd. No, never mind. We'll hold that thought. Todd, looks like the aliens may have not only abducted, Todd's microphone. Looks like they may have abducted Todd as a whole. And Todd's 6'6". I mean, just think about that disappearing act next to you. I'm a little kind of taken and shaken by that right now. So I certainly hope they bring him back here, Joe, because the finish of this race is certainly going to be one to watch.
Yeah, Todd's going to miss all the fun action. The aliens they're timing their stuff just horribly tonight. And I know the last time that I actually raced in Talladega here on DRTV when I was in the field, I believe it was in the Premier Cup Series last year. You guys were handling it. The aliens took me when I was running second behind Derek Justice. So they just have horrible timing here. But, that's a story for another time. The DRTV pace van back down pit road. Corey Carpenter pacing this thing down through the tri-oval, coming close to the restart zone. And Flagger has that green flag in his hand, getting ready to put this thing back underway. Right pedal down. David Day gets the jump through the restart zone. He's going to get out in front of Corey Carpenter, it looks like. Not sure if he's going to clear him. He might be able to clear him, and he does. Put David Day to the race lead. Down to the bottom side, he clears Corey Carpenter, gets a great restart. Jeffrey McClintock in the 17 down on the bottom. Derek Justice, always a guy that's faster at these super speedways, knows his way around here. He's in fourth. Chris Hartefelax clearing the 56 of Scott Geiswhite, put him into the top 5, coming down with just under 17 or 16 laps to go here.
I'll ask you this question, Joe. David Day, was that a great restart, or was that a smart play by Corey? Knowing he's going to save a little more fuel, he's going to be able to save a little more gas being back in line versus being, that front truck and punching that hole in the air, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, you can look at it both ways. Corey definitely, I think, did what he wanted to do. I might have done the same thing Corey did and put myself on the bumper of somebody else, save as much fuel as I can. But, knowing David Day, as long as we've known him, he's really good at saving fuel at these things. He just finds a way to hold down the clutch extra long. As we say that, there's a wreck in the back. It looks like I see a yellow truck, the 51, up into another truck. That's caused a huge accident. That's exactly what David Day and Corey Carpenter wanted to see. Another caution here to get this thing back slowed down. They'll be able to clutch this thing a little bit more and save even more fuel. So looks like so far that strategy might be working out for these top 2 guys here.
All right, so that's going to bring, that whole fuel mileage debate to an even bigger level now with the caution flag. Something there happening, looks like just inside the top 10. I saw the yellow truck go around, and I think that might have been the 51 of Alan Lewis, and he was up there racing, around that 6th spot around where Scott Geiswhite, Chris Hartefelax was. So have to see if, that 51 gets tore up. He was certainly fast, and, certainly those guys around him as they were all digging toward the front. So the complexion of this race now changing once again. 62 laps of 76 on the board, and looking like, Todd, we're going to be in for another one of those wild, dramatic Talladega finishes, if you will.
Yeah, definitely going to be one of those wild finishes. It looks like the 51 it was involved, like you were saying, in that Alan Lewis, and the 22 of Gary Piccolo also involved in that. We'll wait for Mr. TV Time, Rich Patton, to get that replay queued up, and he'll be able to show all the different angles of what happened to bring out this most recent yellow flag as we're waiting. And this is what these guys wanted up towards the front, wanted the fuel mileage, wanted the extras of being able to save that gasoline. The number 5 of David Day is your current race leader. Corey Carpenter, Derek Justice, Chris Hartefelax, and Jeffrey McClintock round out your top 5. But I'm going to throw it down to Mr. TV Time, Rich Patton, who has all the different angles of what just brought out this most recent yellow.
Yeah, it looks like the 51 of Lewis made a little bit of contact with the 22 of Piccolo, and it looks like Piccolo got the worst of this one. We'll go ahead and play this through slow motion as this goes through. Doesn't look like the 51 had any help. They just made some contact. I think next thing you know, he's into the side of the 22. 22 is headed up towards the wall, bounces off the wall. He's in a slow motion whoosh cycle. Looks like everybody else is able to get around him. Kind of crazy. Comes back down onto the apron. Everybody else passes him up on the track. So tough break for Gary. Looks like he got the worst of that one in that 22 machine. Back to you guys.
All right, so under yellow flag, I believe this would be number 7 tonight unofficially here for these guys. DRTV's live coverage of the Insomniac Motorsports 199 points paying race number 10 for the Sim Racing Association's flagship series, the SRA 711 Super Truck Series here from a Talladega Super Speedway. DRTV thrilled to have this series here, you know, much to our delight in 2017. 10 races was the freight. This is race number 3 of that. So you're going to see a lot more of this series from us here in 2017, as well as a lot of great leagues we have out there. You know, I know we got trips to TDR racing coming up. Our first trip for New School Racing. Also trips to Excel. SMO's Hawk Tribute coming down the line here shortly. So a lot of great things coming up for us here live on DRL Network, the home base of DRTV, DRLnetwork.com. And check out the great schedule there, the broadcast rates from any league out there, you know, dates being booked now. Also, DRTV recently has jumped into the iRacing field. So anybody looking for iRacing broadcasts can contact us here at DRTV. Pricing is all negotiable for these iRacing events as so much content goes involved with that. So if you're interested in that, get a hold of us. Find us and contact us at drlnetwork.com and get your league on DRTV. Under the caution flag here, Joe, and you see these guys, same story up front. David, Corey, Chris, all those guys saving fuel. I think this caution flag may have opened the window for them. If they don't see overtime, those guys may be good from here.
Yeah, my concern right now is for my buddy and teammate David Day up front. He's got the 30, the 31 of Derek Justice, the 96 of Chris Hart. Those 3 guys have been working together all night, and I'm afraid that David might be a sitting duck. I see another teammate of his, the 21 of Kelly Horner back there. I believe Kelly's sitting in the 7th position right now, so little ways back. Scott Geiswhite's up there. Jeffrey McClintock, he's been known to work with us a little bit, but right now David's kind of the odd man out up front. But, you know, talking fuel mileage, if this thing doesn't go into overtime, it's definitely looking like, you know, these guys had the right strategy call if this thing ends, you know, at the scheduled race distance. Otherwise, I saw Derek come down at one point over these last couple of cautions, and he's made his way all the way up to the 3rd position. So Derek is probably a little better than Corey and David Day are, at least. So he might be hoping for overtime. That'll put him in the catbird seat.
And you look at the likes of the racing in the top 10, you know, I think we've established, you know, the guys that are probably going to work together. But you look through the back half of the top 10, you see the likes of Frank Divins. Also, Denny Daniels making a rare start here on the Super Truck Series coming at Talladega here tonight. Those guys knowing full weather, Todd, they may not have teammates to work with. Could those guys maybe form a working alliance and try to take it to all these heavy hitters up here?
Oh, see, and that's a tough decision of who you're going to work with and what dancing partner you're going to have. But the thing about it is these guys try to work together and try to find their own different drafting partner, different things that they're going to go on, and they're going to try to work their way up to the front. But it's kind of the who's who of are you going to use the guy that's in front of you maybe to get to the front? Is he going to actually work with you? I mean, you can make relationships with these guys, but everything goes out the window with 2 to go.
Oh, it certainly does. So a lot here left to decipher. Now less than 12 laps remaining. 64 of the 76 advertised distance here tonight. But, you know, as we've documented so many times with this 711 Super Truck Series, Joe, the prospect of overtime looms. And, you know, how much does the thought of overtime in a series like this play in the back of your mind as you get to these closing laps?
Overtime's going to be crazy. Overtime is crazy wherever you go. And, you know, the 711 Super Truck Series utilizes the old NASCAR green-white checkered system. They'll do up to 3 attempts at it if it comes down to it. And, you know, we'll cover that more if we have to. But, you know, they utilize the old system. But it makes things very interesting. Guys are going to try to do everything they can because they know they have a certain amount of attempts to do it. So, you know, and when you throw fuel mileage into the mix, it makes it even more intense and crazy. And, you know, guys are on different strategies. Some guys are going to be able to go harder than others. You're going to see a lot of blocking going on, especially at Talladega, where you have 3 distinct grooves that have all been able to work, and some have been stronger than others at times. It's going to be a matter of who can get hooked up with who and who's going to ditch who coming down to the checkered flag if we get there.
All right, so we're awaiting the restart here from a Talladega Superspeedway. Looks like, you know, lights may be out there on the back straightaway, so that's going to turn the field back over to David Day, to Corey Carpenter, the 30, Derek Justice, Chris Hartofelax, Jeffrey McClintock, Scott Geisweit right there in 6th, having a great run. Row 4, you'll find Frank Divins, Kelly Horner rebounded nicely in the top 10, Denny Daniels, Maverick Morrow, guys, he's found his way into the top 10. So, you know, we talked to Maverick earlier, certainly no strain, you know, not a fan of the super speedways, but, you know, he's found himself nicely nestled into the top 10, and having a great points night here, Todd. You know, Maverick already locked into that super chase, so maybe point racing is out the window, but for a guy, you come to a place like Talladega, you know, it's a super speedway. I'm not a fan. You know, the race is so out of your hands. It's got to make a guy like Maverick feel good finding his way in the top 10 as we head to the closing laps of this thing.
It's definitely got to make him feel real well, the 57 and Maverick Morrow. It's you know, sometimes when you're points racing, you just want to come into these tracks. I mean, like I said earlier in the broadcast, high-speed chess match. You got to put yourself in position, and maybe that position is riding around, trying to miss all the big wrecks, and make it to the end. Finish inside that top 10. Just get a good, solid points day out of Talladega. Go on to the next track. Maverick, one of those guys that likes the short tracks, likes the other types of tracks. He does not ever have good luck here at the Talladega Superspeedway.
All right, so the field in turns number 3 and 4 awaiting the restart, and David Day is going to elect to take that low side. So, you know, it's going to be definitely an interesting play here as he tries to protect that outside lane. We know Corey's certainly fast. He's going to have the likes of Chris Hart up there. We know he's a super speedway guru. Scott Geisweit, he's shown good speed on the outside lane. So certainly anybody's race here, Joe. The van making its way onto pit road, and we're about to turn this thing back under green flag conditions. 10 laps to go at the line.
Yes, we are. David Day, the control car, taking us down into the restart zone. Gas pedal is down. Green flag is in the air. Derek Justice all over the back bumper of the 5 of David Day. I saw David back up to his bumper just a little bit. Want to make sure that he can keep himself out front. Corey Carpenter doesn't look like he's going to be able to clear him. Drag race down through turns 1 and 2. Derek Justice all over the back bumper of the 5. Jeffrey McClintock looking to the outside. It looks like the high side's going to form. Looks like Scott Geisweit now going to dive down back down to the bottom. We got a 3-on-3 battle. Frank Divins up there. Nice recovery for Frank. We saw him in an accident early on. He's up there battling for a spot in the top 5 as they go down into turn 3.
Yeah, 21 of Kelly Horner. He's been impressive. He's running right now in the 8th position. He hit the wall pretty hard down there in one of those green flag pit stops, but he's rebounded back to the 8th position. These guys are all over each other. It's almost the end of the race here, but it looks like these guys are getting kind of squirrely down to the driveway. Contact made there, and we have a big wreck down the front straightaway, and I mean big. Total carnage.
It is a high-speed parking lot at the end of the tri-oval. Stuff happening at the front of the field. Saw Chris Hartofelax get turned the wrong direction. Scott Geisweit, and I think the list of names, guys who aren't involved, is a lot less than the guys that are involved there, Joe.
Yeah, I saw probably the only trucks that got through unscathed were the truck that was leading the race, being David Day, because everybody started spinning around and looping behind him, and that's a doozy, and I'm sure Rich is going to have fun with that one. There's going to be a lot of things to look at.
Well, he's not only going to have fun, he's going to be really busy with this replay, and it's certainly a tough break. You know, the entire field basically tore up in there, and, you know, it's less than 10 laps to go. It's DRTV, the best in sim race broadcast. I mean, these guys are in the shining lights here, as all nights they are over here in this series, and everybody's racing for a checkered flag there, Todd. You only thought something was going to break loose, and it just happened. It was the second car in line getting turned around.
Yeah, that was a huge wreck. And I mean, I was focusing on that, and then all kinds of things happened. And I tell you what, the list is going to be heavy, and Rich is going to be really busy down there. It's great to see. It's great to see some of the guys made it out of there unscathed, but it's also bad to see how many guys got tore up in that wreck.
Yeah, just still waiting the word from Mr. TV Time. Rich Patton is, wish you guys could sometimes hear all the conversation that goes on off there. Is a lot of ball busting goes on up here as part of these broadcasts. We try to keep it fun. You guys in the chat box are great as always. The dialogue's been going on in there all night long. You guys are certainly tuned in. Tell us what you're thinking of this racing action, guys. A tremendous wreck there, but you got to think the racing of this series has certainly lived up at Talladega here tonight. This series, the best of the best in the super speedway community has come out in droves here tonight to DRTV, to the SRA, and to the Talladega Super Speedway. So it's been an awesome race, but Rich Patton, I believe I heard you say you're ready with the replay. This one's going to be certainly wild and busy and a lot going on here, and a lot of tore-up race trucks. I mean, virtually the whole field involved here.
Yeah, pretty much. And we're going to try to keep the camera focused back as much as we can on this. And we're going to keep the camera focused on the 30 at Corey Carpenter. I think by the time we get done watching this replay, it's going to be easier to call out and say who wasn't involved. Looks like Corey Carpenter got a little bit loose. He went down and bumped into the 56 and also the Justice Machine. That's going to send them all into the wall. Next thing you know, it's a parking lot right there in the corner. Everybody is piling up in the same exact parking space. We see trucks upside down. We see them on their sides. We see them up in the catch fences. There's no way possible to call out every single truck that's involved in that mayhem right there. It's basically a rat's nest of metal. Unbelievable right there in front of the checker or the start finish line. It looks like, the guy you thought might have won the 30 is going to be tangled up in all of this. There are trucks everywhere on the track. It's going to change the face of this race, guys. Back to you.
Yeah, certainly going to change it, as you said. And, you look at all the damaged race trucks. We know David drove away. It looks like Frank Divins got away clean. A lot of guys in the front of the field, they maybe got, a little bit of wrinkled there. But, man, could this complexion of this race change anymore, Todd? I mean, you expect a big one at Talladega. It certainly looms at any time, but did you expect it at the front of this field of all things?
No, I definitely didn't expect what was going to go on and who was going to be at the front of the field here tonight. And I did not expect that big of a wreck here going through that trial. That was just something out of the ordinary, and it's going to be interesting to see how many trucks are just damaged.
Yeah, this is, we're gearing up for something real exciting here. I think, arguably, that's probably the biggest wreck at Talladega I've seen personally in, several months, if not years. And I've been over at Insomniac Motorsports on Friday nights when they've been maxing out fields and having knockout qualifying. I don't think we've ever had a wreck that big since I've been running over there on Friday nights. So that was huge. And I'll tell you what, this is gearing up for an exciting race. And we talked about fuel mileage. Will this thing end at our scheduled distance, or are we going to go into overtime? And if we go into overtime, who has enough fuel to make it? Jeffrey McClintock told me that he was good to go even for overtime, and he's actually the cause and the claim of that last caution. So Jeffrey now is going to have to restart at the end of the longest line here. Maverick Mora was involved in that just a little bit. He's restarting third. So really the only two clean trucks that made it through that wreck so far that I could see at least were David Day in the 5 and Frank Divins in the 9. And Kelly was bounced around a little bit. Maverick Mora was. I think Alan Lewis in the 51 was bounced around a little bit. The 40 of Brandon Lawson probably was in the middle of that somewhere. So who's going to have the truck to be able to do something, and who's going to have the advantage out front with fuel and everything? It's really shaping up to be one hell of a finish here coming down to the end of this thing.
No, it certainly is. And there's so many twists and turns here left to go. And, I would love to grab one of these guys and see exactly what they're thinking. We'll still got the lights on the top of DRTV Pace Fan. But you got to think of the excitement and the anticipation level here. David Day, Frank Divins are going to have your front row. You look further on back. You look even outside the first 3 rows. You find the likes of Taylor Morgan's back there. We know he was fast early on. He's got fast guys like Alan Lewis, Brandon Lawson right there in front of them, Todd. How deep in the field right now as we look at this restart? Probably about say 5 laps or better maybe here to the finish. How deep in the field can you be right now and have a shot to win this thing if this thing stays green?
I've seen winners from 20th come on and win this race, so you could see a big wreck like that happen again, and you're going to see guys come right up to the field. Comfortably, I'm saying inside the top 15. You have a pretty decent shot because things can change. You just realign yourself within that. I've seen guys within 5 laps be able to make up that much ground. We're just going to have to wait and see who has the damage. That's going to be one of the other key factors is how much damage did all these guys curtail from that. I know some got very minor damage, others got heavy damage. So we're going to have to just wait and see what guys are going to come to the front.
All right, so lights are out atop of DRTV Pace Fan, the field in turn number 2. So let's see, we haven't done one here yet tonight. Let's see if we can't do a quick full field rundown before we get back to Green Flag Racing, sponsored by the Sim Racing Association. Find us at simracingassociation.com. Check out that website. It is David Day, the race leader. Frank Dibbins second. Maverick Morrow currently third. Kelly Horner fourth. Brandon Lawson rounds out your top 5. 6 through 10, we find Alan Lewis, Taylor Morgans, Aaron Johnson, Denny Daniels, and how about Scott Schroyer up there running in the top 10? 11 through 15, we find the likes of Gary Piccolo, Doug Lockrow having a great run. He is 12th. Jeff Gruber is 13th. Tom Richter 14th, and Bobby Farrell's rebounded nicely. He's up in the top 15 right now. 16 through 20, we find Spencer Gilmore, Robert Barkham, Jason Justice buried deep in the field, 18th. Rick Johnson, 19th. Scott Geiswhite back in 20th position. Martin Karch is 21st. Derek Justice currently back 22nd. Steve Looney, 23rd. Matt Eber is 24th. Jerry Walters currently 25th, guys, all on the lead lap. We also find Scott Bowdenshots, Greg Lavelle, Corey Williams, the 23 truck. He's out there. He's currently 28th. 29th, Corey Carpenter. Chris Harnafilex, guys, mired all the way back in the 30th position, if you can believe it. Jeffrey McClintock, the last truck running, currently 31st, going to be buried deep in the field. Don Dangler, Matt Watkins, those 2 drivers retired from the event, guys. So 33 took the green flag, 31 left on the racetrack, and it's going to be anybody's race from here, Todd Stanton. Green flag back in the air.
The green flag back in the air. These guys are stacking it up through the field. David Day right now trying to lead this race, but it looks like the 57 Maverick Morrow is almost peeking out of the line in that number 57 machine, but he maintains behind the number 5 of David Day. The 9 of Frank Dibbins out all by his lonesome on the top side of the speedway. He has no help up top. The number 40 of Brandon Lawson moves to that 3rd spot, now pushing Maverick Morrow down the back straightaway. David Day had about 3 car length advantage. That has disappeared down the back chute.
Going down into turn 3 here, David Day with the lead out front. Maverick Morrow in that 2nd position. Brandon Lawson all over his bumper. Taylor Morgan's back there in the 4th position. Denny Daniels recovered from an early spin, guys. He's back in the 5th position. I see an orange crush truck. I believe that's Kelly Horner back there in the 6th position. All single file through the top 6 is Alan Lewis in that yellow number 51 truck, trying to make something happen on the top side to get himself up there in contention to possibly win this thing.
Yeah, that's side-by-side racing with Gary Piccolo, guys, for about that 6th spot. We saw earlier on that outside lane seemed to be the fast way around, but all guys now, Todd, look to be glued to the low side of the racetrack, and with less than 5 laps remaining, I think you're going to be cognitive and maybe block that low lane. So I don't think the outside lane may be out of it yet, and you have to see what's going to happen here as these guys now, as they exit off of, the backstretch to turn 3, that Alan Lewis machine, he's creeped forward. They're side by side with Taylor Morgan's. That's for 4th as they exit turn 4.
Yeah, definitely outside line rolling on the top side. The number 40 of Brandon Lawson goes up there. Maverick Morrow now goes up. David Day up there trying to break the draft. He goes all the way up and breaks up the top side here. Maverick Morrow now up on the top side. Now Brandon Lawson stuck behind the 5 of David Day down into turn 1. These guys making a whale of a race. Now another line forming look like they're momentarily way up top.
3rd line trying to form up to the top side. I saw Alan Lewis, drift up there as well. That red truck right there in the fray of things as well. That is Maverick Morrow, that number 57. He is mixing it up in there. Guys juking, driving, switching lines, Joe. This is getting wild as they head toward turn 3.
It's wild. Two lines have formed. We see a top line for him. Maverick Morrow doing everything he can to keep himself up there. 4-truck breakaway on the bottom at the front of the field right now. Alan Lewis trying to make everything happen on the top line. Not doing it. David Day is still your race leader here as we say that. 78 looks like he's going to peek out. That's Aaron Johnson. He's going to go to the middle groove with the 51 of Alan Lewis. I see the 93 of Rick Johnson back up there. Looks like the 40 of Brandon Lawson's going to go up there. David Day all by himself up front trying to block the line. He's going to get up to the top. They're wrecking in the back. Frank Divins is going to come down. He's going to be the huge wreck in the back, guys. I believe this might put us into overtime. I don't think we took the white flag yet, so we're definitely going to be in overtime here, I believe, as they battle down the back straightaway. We're racing back to the caution flag here. David Day out front, the 9 of Frank Divins all over his bumper. I see Maverick Morrow down on the bottom now in the 3rd position. Brandon Lawson all by himself with the 93 up top. They're going to fall back to the 4th and 5th positions, respectively, as they battle off a turn 4.
Yeah, they didn't receive that white flag there, so it looks like we're going to do a green-white checker. As these guys battling back down here, racing back here for possession. Looks like David Day going to still hold on here to that number 1 spot. And it's going to be interesting to see Frank Divins now once again in that 2nd spot. The 57 of Maverick Morrow, he is 3rd. So a big wreck ensued once again there. It looked like from 5th on back there, these guys racing real hard. Alan Lewis was heavily involved. All kinds of different trucks involved in that one. And once again, another wreck claiming some of these guys.
It claimed a lot in there as well. Aaron Johnson all tore up. Jeff Gruber got tore up. Multiple trucks all tore up. That was racing there, Joe. Once again, just like that last wreck, it was inside a top 10. Those guys are racing around for the 4th spot. And unfortunately, it's tore up a lot of trucks, and it's certainly sending us right toward overtime.
Yep, we are getting ready and geared up for overtime. Unfortunately, Alan Lewis in that 51 pulled his truck behind the race wall. He was too badly damaged in that accident, so tough break for Alan making his return to NR 2003 here in the 7-Eleven Super Truck Series. His night's going to end right towards the end of it, actually, so tough break for Alan. Just tough racing up in the top half of the field, guys. Couple blocks were thrown, which is completely legal when we're inside 10 laps to go, I should say. So trucks checking up for one another, and the wreck happened, and that's racing at super speedways here towards the end of these things. But guys, I think Rich Patton is ready for us down in the control booth with our replay as to what exactly caused this caution here and is putting us into overtime. Rich.
Yeah, most definitely, and this is definitely putting us into overtime, and this is going to change the name of the game, just like they're saying in the chat box. A lot of things are going to happen here. So first of all, we're going to get through this caution. We're going to keep the cameras focused on Aaron Johnson in the number 78, because you're going to see why. It gets a little bit crazy. We're going to go slow motion here. Looks like he gets a little upset or a little off balance or whatever, goes down, bounces it off of Divins, goes back up top. Next thing you know, he's caught up with another truck. That's going to be, it looks like the 51, but just keep your eyes open. The 51's going to get airborne, gets up on his roof, goes all the way over. Next thing you know, the 78 Aaron Johnson is also on his roof. We've got a lot of mayhem going on. He is on his roof. That's his turtle to the fullest right there. Look at that. Stop it right there. The 56, he would have cleared the fence if he went outside the track. He's so high up in the air. We'll keep this going in slow motion. Unbelievable mess. Finally, the 56 comes back down towards the apron and lands. Meanwhile, Aaron Johnson finally comes back on all 4 tires as that spectacular turtle movement running down the straightaway there. Unbelievable mess. A lot of trucks involved, and that definitely changes the game. We are now going into overtime, guys. Back to you.
All right, yeah, the complexion of this race certainly changed. It's all upside down now. It's anybody's race from here. We are in overtime on DRTV tonight. The Talladega Superspeedway, the Insomniac Motorsports 199, the SRA 711 Super Truck Series. It is in full form here tonight. This place has been hopping. The chat box is hopping tonight. Everybody's in a great spirit here. An awesome race at Talladega this evening. And what better way to settle this thing as we head to overtime here. A unique feature here to the SRA 711 Super Truck Series. Hats off to Jason Justice, Eddie Lee, Jeff Gruber, all the guys behind the scenes that make this series a reality for the Sim Racing Association. A collection of all the great leagues come together, shining like a diamond here on DRTV tonight as all leagues that want to be on the big time. It is right here tonight here on DRTV. It is all right here at Talladega. Now you're thinking, guys, can the likes of David Day, we know he's playing fuel strategy, Todd. We're in overtime now. It may be a worst case scenario here for him. He may be good for one overtime period, but you got to think he does not want to see a second one.
Yeah, definitely does not want to see a second one, but these overtime rules, Joe is really accustomed to them. Joe, what goes on here for these green-white checkers?
Yes, sir. Overtime rules here in the 7-Eleven Super Truck Series. They follow the old NASCAR format. So these guys will line up here. We'll have 3 attempts to get this race finished under green flag conditions and, get to a checkered flag here in racing-wise. So, if they come down and they restart this race and they pile them up in turn 1, we'll slow them. Well, they'll race back to the line. We'll slow them back down, line all these guys back up. We'll go at it for a second attempt. If they decide to pile them up in turn 3 before they take the white flag, they'll race back to the line. We'll slow them down. We'll get everybody side by side, line back up again. We'll go into our 3rd attempt. Our 3rd attempt will be the end of the race. So no matter what happens in our 3rd attempt, if they take the white flag, if they, wreck on the first lap, these guys will race back to the white flag, and that'll be the end of the race. The next flag will end the race. So these guys will be given 3 attempts to finish this thing under green. Now, if in the first 2 attempts they take the white flag at any time, the next flag will end the race. So if they take the white flag and they wreck on the white flag lap, next flag will end it. That'll be the end of the race. So it's just like the old NASCAR rules before they brought in the overtime line, what we see now in NASCAR. So these guys follow the old rules.
All right. Well, it's going to be, fun to see here as we prepare for green-white checker attempt number 1. But this YouTube chat box, guys, it has been lit up all night long. The viewership has been outstanding here tonight. The race has certainly lived up to it. But I am going to put this challenge out to the YouTube chat box, guys. Green-white checker. Are we going to see only one? And who is it going to be going to victory lane? I want to ask the guys in the YouTube chat box those 2 questions. What do you think, guys? I want to hear from you. I want to hear from my colleagues up here in the booth here. Todd, what do you think?
Oh, you're going to put me on the spot here this early on in the going. I mean, I should say this late in the going, but this early on, I really don't know. There's a lot of guys looking for the first win up through here. And who do I want to jinx tonight? This is one of those things of who do I want to jinx? Who's going to win this race? We're going to look through the field. I'm going to go for a 3-time winner. That's the 40 of Brandon Lawson. I think Lawson's in a pretty good seat in that number 40 machine. I think he's looking for his 3rd win on the season. I think he can get it done. What do you think, Joe?
Well, I'm looking up through this, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, how Talladega has the ability in Daytona as well to, throw you some dark horses to win these races. And looking up through the top 10, we got an opportunity to have any of these guys in the top 10 looking for their first win. David Day doesn't have one. Frank Divins is looking for one. Rick Johnson in the 93 is looking for one. Gary Piccolo is looking for one. Denny Daniels, I believe, is looking for one. The 34, Tom Richter. The 088 of Greg Lovell. Bunch of guys looking for their first win this year, guys. But you know what? I'm going to hope I don't jinx him because I'll hear about it at the end of it. But I got to pull for my teammate, my close buddy, David Day in the 5. I think he gets this win here and holds him off.
Well, Joe, if he was your good buddy, you would know that he won the Atlanta race here a couple of weeks ago. So he's one of the 7 people, 7 drivers have won out of these first 9 races. We've only had 2 repeat winners, that being Brandon Lawson and, of course, Matt Watkins. He found this race early here tonight. But those 2 guys are 2-time winners on the season here. David Day's got a race win, but you look up in the top 5 there, as you said, Frank Divins don't have a win. Rick Johnson's there without a win. How about Gary Piccolo? How about a dark horse like a Doug Lockrow up there in the top 8 as well? So certainly anybody's race from here. But if I got to make my bold prediction tonight, I'm going to go on a limb here because I've seen these Talladega races happen so many times. I'm thinking the 9 of Frank Divins is going to be the guy to drive the victory lane. So we're about to find out here, Todd. The field is in 3 and 4. Lights are out atop that DRTV pace fan, and we're about to set this score, and we're going to figure out who is it going to be going to victory lane.
Yeah, definitely going to figure out who's going to be here as we get ready to set this picture. Looks like the pace fan getting ready to pull left down to pit road, and he's going to indeed do so. It's going to be David Day at the front here with Frank Divins running a second. Maverick Morrow and the number 40 of Brandon Lawson, they make up the second row. And we're going to have to just wait and see what's going to happen here. I should say Rick Johnson makes up the second row. The 93, I believe the 57 of Maverick Morrow does have damage. Green flag is in the air, and this is the first initial start of this green-white checker. If they make it back to the white flag, if the field makes it back to the white flag, the next flag will end it. So green flag is in the air. Big lead for the number 5 of David Day. Is that going to be too much of a lead as these guys are going to gain all kinds of momentum on that number 5 machine? We're going to have to wait and see as we go down the back straightaway.
Yep, David Day with the whole shot down the back straightaway. He's got Maverick Morrow all over his bumper. Brandon Lawson tried to peek to the outside, decided against that. He's going to go back down to the bottom. How about Robert Bauckham up there in the top 5, guys? The short track ace himself, not a fan of these super speedways. Notoriously doesn't like coming here to run them, but he's made his way into the top 5, looking to get out there and maybe score his first super speedway series win. They're going to come down through the trial. Well, I don't see anything yet. They might come down to take the white flag this time by as they come down through the trial, all single file in the top 5. David Day comes across the line. I believe white flag is in the air this time by. Next flag is going to end the race as they go down through turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, and I'm looking at that outside lane and looking at anybody who's going to peak. Frank Divins was that first truck on the outside by himself. Looks like he may have some help there now. And, white truck up there. Looks like it may be, is it Brandon Lawson signing to the back? David Day trying to make that truck 3 lanes wide down the back straightaway there, Todd.
3 lines. Three lanes wide for the number 5 of David Day. David Day now trying to fend out the 57 of Maverick Morrow. Morrow now trying to battle on the high side. He's got help from Frank Divins. Here comes the 40 of Brandon Lawson. He's trying to go up the middle. David Day down on the bottom side. Now Robert Bauckham back down to the bottom. Here comes Brandon Lawson up through the middle. Who's it going to be to the start-finish line?
Who's it going to be as they hit the light? It looks like Maverick Morrow. He's going to steal one this evening, guys. Maverick Morrow goes to victory lane in the Insomniac Motorsports 199 with a little bit of nose damage. He makes the outside lane work perfectly, Joe. I thought the outside lane would be that move that wins the race, and Maverick Morrow makes it stick. Even with that damage aside, the 57, Joe, goes to victory lane.
Hell of a job by Maverick Morrow in the 57. He had huge help on the outside. I believe it was Rick Johnson it was Frank Divins in the 9, stuck with Maverick the entire time. Pushed him right around David Day when he lost his partner in the 40 of Brandon Lawson and just squeaked by. Barely got the win around the 5 of David Day. Great job by Maverick. One of those guys has always said, we spoke with him earlier in the show, guys, not a fan of these super speedways, just comes out here to try to ride around and get himself a finish and, a decent finish at least. And he came out here and stole one right from out underneath. I didn't think he would be able to do it with the damage he had leading the top line, but found the right partner in Frank Divins and pushed him all the way to the win.
No, he certainly did an incredible run by Maverick Morrow on the top side. I wasn't sure David Day was going to be able to make that thing stick 3 lanes deep, but, I'm certainly sure he's excited to finish up in the 2nd spot. Also, great run for Frank Divins there aboard that number 9 machine. So a great run by all these guys. What a thrilling finish, just as we thought we would see here tonight, for DRTV at the Talladega Superspeedway. A great race indeed. I think we're at the top 3 already, and I believe, Joe, you're going to be first up. Let's see if we can't throw it down to you. I believe you've caught up our 3rd place driver, Frank Divins, of the number 9.
Yes, I have indeed. I'm down here on pit road. Frank Divins just climbing out of that number 9 truck. Frank, that was one heck of a race. We saw a bunch of 3x3 racing, couple 4-wides going on there. Saw a big wreck down the front straightaway that you and David Day made it through, and you pushed that 57 of Maverick Morrow to a very close victory. Tell us about your race, bud. It looked pretty intense and wild out there.
Oh, it was. Definitely. I started in the back, but it looked like if I stayed back here, I was just going to get gathered up, so I decided to stay up front as much as I could. Got freight trained a few times, especially there on the last, but I just stuck to the nose that came out from the bottom line and stayed on him, and it was Maverick, and I just wanted to get the best finish I could. And so I just stayed on his bumper and pushed as hard as I could. And driving through some of those wrecks, especially that big one at the start-finish line, I can't believe I was 10th going into the tri-oval, come through there 2nd.
Absolutely. You were around the top 5 and the top 10 most of the evening. I know sometimes you just caught the bad draft on some of those lines, but for the most part, you were able to keep yourself up there. So very good job on that. How were those green flag pit stops? I know you're a big supporter of this 7-Eleven series. You've been here all week looking for your first win. Came up just a little bit short, but you almost had the strategy right. How close were you on fuel? Could you go to a second green-white checkered, or were you only going to be able to do one?
I was surprised how many yellows we had. When the race was officially done, I was 6 laps to the good, so I was good on one green flag, green-white checker. If it had been a second, it would have been tight.
Well, Frank, an awesome run tonight, bud. Coming in second place, just a little bit short. We know you're looking for your first win. Thought you might have had it in you tonight, just a little bit short. Push Maverick to the win. Come home with a third place finish. I'm going to open the airwaves for you, bud. Let you go ahead and thank all your supporters, friends, family. I know you had some fans out there in the chat box that were watching tonight, so Mike's all yours, buddy.
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody back at Extreme Motorsports and my teammates Greg Lovell, Danny Lovell, Jim Black, and Jerry Walters, and especially my excuse me, my brother and sister-in-law in North Carolina, Judy. I'm sure she was chatting up a storm in that chat box. Is what she does. I appreciate all the support I get.
All right, guys. Well, that was our third place finisher tonight. Frank Divins came up just a little bit short. Huge instrumental push for the 57 and Maverick Morrow to get his win here tonight at that super speedway. But Todd, I believe you've caught up with our second place finisher. That's our buddy David Day.
Yeah, I've indeed caught up with Mr. Excitement, David Day, that Team Crush sponsored machine, and hey, he's got Cookie Monster all over it. Came in up just a little bit short here this evening, and David, you did everything you could. Maverick just had that run there at the end to get by you, but second place finish, pretty good run for you.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. I seen him get the run on the outside, then I knew I would have more momentum than the middle lane, so I was just going to race it out with Maverick, and I thought maybe his incident earlier had a little bit more damage, but unfortunately not, so it didn't really work out.
Yeah, well, the race was good though there, David. I mean, it was exciting there, and I didn't think you had enough fuel. What was going through your mind there? How much good were you with that green-white checker? Could you have gone another one?
If it was an instant yellow, yes. If we made it almost all the way around, no. It would have been way too close. I would have definitely pit if there was another one. I was asked by another driver behind me if I was good, and I told him I was good, but I wasn't really that good.
Well, you got to do what you got to do there, and tell those drivers that you're good, and make them think that you're good, maybe so that way they don't stop pushing you there. But like we said, Maverick bringing home the win here this evening. It didn't quite work out for you. You got a second place finish, and it was .025 was that finish, David. So a really good run.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, if I was going to lose somebody, Maverick was the guy. Kelly was up there, and I was going to run with him, obviously, but something happened back there, so... me and Maverick up front, I'll take that. Crush 1-2 is fine with me.
Well, David, one more thing. You seen that big wreck in your rearview mirror. What were you thinking? Were you glad you were out of that thing?
I laughed, to be honest, and I was very glad to be out of it.
One more time, David Day, I'm going to give you the microphone. The floor is all yours. Thank whoever you'd like to thank for getting you here. I know you got a lot of people out there, a lot of fans in the chat box.
Yeah, just thanks to everybody supporting Crush and what we're doing over at iRacing on the dirt, and thanks to all the 3-unit guys, Rob, Tyler, for assisting and always helping out, and all my Crush teammates, obviously. And thanks to SRA 711, Eddie Lee. Hope he gets better soon. I know he was in a wreck, so that's pretty crappy, but hope he gets better soon. And yeah, just thanks for everybody coming out watching. And if you've got something, show it. If you don't, well, I might shut it.
All ladies and gentlemen, that's our driver who finishes second here tonight in the 7-11 series, the Insomniac Motorsports 199. That's Mr. Excited David Day. But I'm going to throw it down to Mr. TV Time Rich Patton, who's caught up with our race winner tonight. And I'm sure he's really, really stoked here. He does not like these super speedways. That's Maverick Morrow.
Yeah, no kidding, guys. I made it down here to Victory Lane. I'm standing next to your race winner today. Maverick, one heck of a race. Congratulations on the win, buddy. How's it feel?
Oh, it feels really good. I am like totally blown out of the water. I can't believe it.
Yeah, we had quite a few big ones, you know, like they like to call them on Daytona and Talladega, the big one, and we definitely had that tonight. Two really big ones. Took out quite a few trucks early on. Looked like you were able to get through that without any problems. Did you think you were going to be at the front of this pack crossing that line on that green-white checker? Because, I mean, let's face it, you weren't 1 and 2 at that time, right? You had to make up some ground there.
Oh yeah, especially because in one of the wrecks I was actually involved and got spun around, got a little bit of damage. So I had, pretty worn tires, but I didn't want to give up the track position. So I was hoping that the damage wasn't too bad. So I just kept staying out It was real close on field too. So I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? I won a super speedway? I never win these things.
Yeah, that's what they were talking about in the booth up there. The super speedways aren't your thing. You'd rather the intermediate or short tracks, but it's, the Talladega track is the equalizer, as they call it. It opens the door for just about anybody. It's all about being in the right place at the right time and having friends out there, and it looks like you were at the right place at the right time, buddy.
Yeah, definitely a lot of luck involved in it for sure, but it was nice to be on the positive side of the luck instead of the negative for a change.
Oh, there you go. Well, we're going to give the mic to you one more time. The floor is all yours, Maverick. Go ahead and thank who got you here in spectacular race. Congratulations on the win, buddy. The mic is yours.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I got to thank Joe for getting this new truck painted for me. Turns out it was kind of a good luck charm for me, and just thank you guys for doing this for us, and just thank everybody, Jason and everybody who works so hard to try and make this league the best that they can make it.
All right, well, there you have it, race fans. Your race winner today, Maverick Morrow. Spectacular finish, guaranteed green, white, checkered. Definitely, had me on the edge of my seat down here in the control booth, guys. Unbelievable. Back up to you.
Yeah, what an incredible race this was here tonight for the SRA 711 Super Truck Series. It certainly lived up to the billing, but Joe, I'm not sure if you could have guessed it here tonight. I know you painted up that 57. That thing was beautiful, but do you think any estimation, knowing Maverick is just having I can't say hatred, but the disdain for, the super speeder racing in general? Did you imagine at the beginning of the night you would see that thing roll to victory lane tonight? I'm as shocked as anybody. I'm sure you are too.
Yeah, I'm completely shocked. I've been racing with Maverick for, 3 or 4 years now. We started over at Blazing Pedals, which is one of the Sim Racing Association leagues, and, we've kind of followed around and bounced around to a bunch of different leagues, and, he's a crush teammate of ours now. And, I'm surprised. Maverick is, he doesn't hide the fact that he doesn't like super speedways. He's very vocal about it. He almost doesn't show up to them most of the time because his luck has been so horrible here, but I'm so happy for him. It's been a long time coming for him to finally score one of these things. He's been wrecked late, he's been wrecked early, he's been wrecked in the middle, and finally he avoided everything and, was able to go out there and pull a win, and, I'm happy for him. I never would have imagined that, the first time he goes and runs that purple and pink Victoria's Secret truck that he asked me to put together for him, that he would have went out there and put it in victory lane. But good for him, and I'm glad that he had the success tonight that he's been so desperately looking for.
No, the success certainly paid off tonight. If a better guy could find it, Maverick punching his ticket tonight in victory lane. Back-to-back wins on the SRA 711 Super Truck Series. Certainly not something easy to do, but, Todd, we switch gears now as we look forward here. We're here at Talladega tonight. A couple nights from now, we make the return over to TDR Racing and the Apple Collision Center Premier Cup Series. We go from one extreme to the other. We go from Talladega all the way now to the 3/4-mile action track, the Richmond International Raceway here on Saturday night. We turn the page in two completely different styles of racing, but Richmond may live up to the billing just like, here at Talladega tonight.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what's going to happen. It's going to live up to the billing, live up to the standard here. It's going to be interesting. We're going to have to wait and see what's going to happen here Saturday night, Phil. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, can't wait to get back over to TDR Saturday night, and cannot wait to pay us a visit once again to this Super Truck Series here. A lot of races left to come, and I look on the docket. I think we have another 8 or 9 leagues on the docket here, just on the schedule as it currently stands here in 2017, and more coming in. So book your dates now. Find us at drlnetwork.com. So until next time, for Joe, for Todd up here in the booth, awesome job as always, and the best of the best, Mr. TV Time, Rich Patton. As always, a fantastic job at the controls. My name is Phil Lacasse. I'd like to thank you for watching us here tonight. Another installment of DRTV live on the DRL Network. The best in sim racing broadcast. Good night. We'll see you next time.